In my past life, I knelt on the ground, clutching her leg, crying so hard I could barely breathe. Grandma, I didn't bring bad luck to Dad and cause his death. Please don't send me away. She kicked me away, her eyes filled with utter disgust. You're nothing but a jinx. Your father was perfectly fine until you cursed him. If we keep you in this house, you'll bring ruin upon our entire family. I was only 7 years old then. Later, I grew up in an orphanage, got into university at 18, and desperately wanted to return to that home. I thought that as long as I was outstanding enough, my grandmother would take me back, but when I stood at her doorstep with my acceptance letter, she was hugging my cousin and laughing. Her smile vanished the moment she saw me. Who told you to come back? I have no granddaughter like you. My cousin hid behind her and stuck her tongue out at me the year I turned 26. I was diagnosed with terminal stomach cancer on the hospital bed. I secretly made one last call to my grandmother. No one picked up. Instead, my father's remarried wife, my nominal stepmother, sent me a message. Stop calling, Mom said. Even if you die, don't die at the Sioux family's doorstep. It's bad luck. I stared at those words and suddenly laughed. So, from the very beginning to the very end, I was the one who didn't belong in the second chance at life. When Grandma pushed me toward the orphanage gate, I walked in on my own. She was stunned. I glanced back at her. Grandma, thank you for bringing me here. The iron gate of the welfare home was rusty. I stood at the gate, looking down at my hands, small, chubby, with dirt still stuck under my nails from digging in the yard yesterday. 7 years old. I've returned to being 7 years old. Behind me, Grandma Jean was speaking in a hushed voice with the staff from the welfare center, but I could hear every word clearly. This child is too tough. She even caused her father's death. I simply can't raise her. Her mother ran away right after giving birth to her. I'm just an old woman. I can't manage. The staff member frowned and flipped through the documents. Ms. Jean, these procedures are not complete. Regarding the child's mother, her mother has long disappeared. Jean's voice suddenly rose, drawing a few children in the hallway to peek out. My son is dead. All that's left is this burden. I'm 70 years old. How am I supposed to raise her? The staff was startled by her presence and instinctively looked at me. I stared back expressionlessly. In my previous life at this time, I was lying on the ground wailing, snot smeared all over my face, my hands tightly gripping my grandmother's trouser legs. I cried for the entire afternoon, until my voice was hoarse, until the staff had to forcibly carry me inside, and so, I cried for another 3 months in the orphanage. Every single day for those 3 months, I'd press my face against the window, watching and waiting for my grandmother to come for me. She never came, not even once. Hey there, little one. The staff member crouched down, her gaze gentle. What's your name? Vivi, I said. Vivi, your grandmother said she needs you to stay here for a little while. I know. I cut her off. It's not for a little while. She doesn't want me anymore. The staff member's expression shifted slightly. Glancing back at Jean, Jean averted her gaze, her lips pressed tightly together. Looking at her profile, I suddenly felt a deep sense of calm in my past life. It took me 19 years to come to terms with that truth. I don't want to waste any more time in this life. It's fine, I said to the staff member with a smile. I'll go in by myself. I turned and walked through the iron gate. After a few steps, I stopped and looked back at Jean. Her expression was complex. For a moment, her lips moved as if she wanted to say something. In my previous life, I would have taken this subtle expression as evidence that she couldn't bear to part with me, and then chewed on it in my heart for over a decade, convincing myself that my grandmother actually loved me. But now I know, she just felt a bit embarrassed that I wasn't crying or making a fuss. After all, a 7-year-old child was abandoned without shedding a single tear, making her seem like a heartless grandmother. Grandma, I said, her body stiffened slightly. Thank you for bringing me here. I saw her eyes fly wide open. She hid that flash of shock and guilt well, but having lived 2 lives, I saw right through it. I stopped looking at her and walked straight through the orphanage gates. Jean's muffled voice came from behind me. About the blanket and stuff. I'll bring it for her tomorrow. The staff member responded politely. She won't deliver it. She said the same thing in her past life, too. Life at the orphanage wasn't exactly good, but it was better than living with the Sioux family, at least here. No one would drag me out of bed in the middle of the night, point a finger in my face, and curse me as a jinx, and no one would dump my food into the slop bucket, saying every bite I took was stealing the life from her son. I was assigned to a 6-person dormitory. The mattress was hard as a board, the pillow was thin and flat, and everything smelled faintly of mildew, but I slept soundly. During the first week, a staff member named Sister Zhang paid special attention to me. She would always find excuses to check on me, asking if I was hungry, cold, or had any nightmares at night. I Knew she was observing my psychological state. A 7-year-old child abandoned by their family, who neither cries nor makes a fuss, is considered abnormal in the eyes of adults. Vivi, if you want to cry, just let it out, it's okay. When Sister Jeanne came to see me for the 3rd time, she crouched down and patted my head. I shook my head. I don't want to cry. You don't have to pretend to be strong, Sister Jeanne. I looked up at her. I'm really not upset. Her eyes, however, welled up with tears. She probably thought I was shutting down my emotions because I was too heartbroken, but that wasn't it at all. In this moment, with absolute clarity, I know that leaving the Sioux family was the best decision I ever made. As the days went by, I gradually figured out the routine at the orphanage. We lined up for meals, for showers, and sometimes even to use the toilet. The clothes were issued to everyone, and most of them didn't fit quite right. There were few toys and even fewer books, but none of that mattered. What mattered was that a month later, a couple came. I sat in the corner of the activity room flipping through a tattered copy of Andersen's fairy tales, catching a glimpse out of the corner of my eye as Sister Jeanne led 2 people in. The man was in his early 30s, tall and slender, wearing silver-framed glasses and walking with a slight limp in his left leg. The woman was around the same age, dressed in a faded floral print dress, with her right pinky and ring fingers missing. Their clothes were worn but impeccably clean. My fingers tightened around the page. It was them, Silas and Ceres. In my previous life, they also came to the orphanage at this time, but in my previous life, I was always crying and making a fuss, exuding a dull, gloomy aura all over. They came several times. Each time they would look at me, but eventually took the girl in the next bed, Xiaoyu. Later I found out that Ceres had wanted to choose me, but Silas was worried about my severe psychological trauma and their inadequate conditions, fearing they wouldn't be able to take good care of me. Xiaoyu later lived a good life. She called them mom and dad, got accepted into a normal university, and after graduation, became a teacher at an elementary school in the town. As for me, I stayed in the orphanage until I was 14, and then Jean took me back, not because she had a change of heart, it was because her granddaughter Lily needed a bone marrow donor. In this life, I won't let them miss me again. Ceres walked over to me, bent down, and glanced at the book in my hand. Are you reading The Little Match Girl? I nodded. Do you like reading? Her voice was soft. I closed the book and looked up at her. Her eyes were bright, and when she smiled, the fine lines at their corners fanned out like a delicate folding fan. Her maimed right hand hung naturally at her side, not hidden away on purpose. Auntie, I said, your hand is beautiful. She was taken aback for a moment. Silas also turned to look at me. I said, I read in a book that hands that do a lot of work are the most beautiful. Ceres' eyes suddenly welled up. She crouched down, bringing herself to my eye level, and extended her incomplete hand to gently clasp my fingers. What's your name? Vivi, she repeated. Vivi, I think, in this life, I should have a different kind of life. 3. The adoption process is slower than I expected. Silas and Ceres' circumstances are not ideal. Silas is a math teacher at the town's middle school, and his left leg is disabled due to polio he contracted as a child. Ceres works in a textile factory, and her right hand is missing 2 fingers after an accident with a machine early in her career. Their combined monthly income is less than 3,000 yuan. The auditor from the welfare home frowned and glanced at them several times. Mr. Silas, it's not that I'm making things difficult for you, it's just your financial situation. I've calculated it. Silas pulled out a densely written sheet of paper from his bag. My monthly salary is 1,800, Ceres is 1,200, and with the occasional tutoring I do for students, we can make it work if we tighten our belts. The auditor glanced down at the paper, which detailed even how many cups of milk the child drank daily and how many new clothes were added each month. The child needs to go to school. I'm a teacher. Silas adjusted his glasses, a faint smile touching the corners of his mouth. I'll figure out the tuition. He said it in a calm, matter-of-fact tone, as if explaining a simple math problem to a student, clear, logical, and utterly confident. Ceres, standing nearby, remained silent, just twisting her fingers together. She was nervous. I didn't know any of this in my past life. In my past life, they adopted Xiaoyu. I was huddled under the covers, crying in secret, completely unaware that someone wanted to take me home. The paperwork and approval process took time. During that period, they came to visit me 4 times. Every time she visits, Ceres brings me something to eat. The first time, it was 2 boiled eggs, still warm. She had wrapped them in a towel and carried them close to her chest. The second time, it was a small bag of walnut cookies, which she said she made herself. The third time, it was a cotton dress with a floral print, cut from the same fabric as the one she was wearing that day. My hands aren't very steady, so the stitches might not be very even, she said shyly, handing me the skirt. Try it on and see if it fits. I took the skirt and looked at it for a moment. The stitches were indeed uneven, some parts were obviously crooked, had been taken apart and restitched, leaving tiny needle marks, a dress sewn with 3 fingers. It's beautiful, I said. I really like it. The 4th time he came, Silas brought a set of first-grade textbooks. Vivi, have you ever been to school before? I shook my head. Back at the Sioux household, Jean never let me go to school. While other kids shouldered their book bags and headed off, I stayed home washing dishes, sweeping floors, and feeding the chickens. Silas didn't press for reasons. He just opened the Chinese textbook to the first page and pointed at the pinyin chart. All right, let's start here. I repeated after him. He smiled, and his smile was very gentle. Vivi is very clever. That afternoon, he taught me pinyin for a full 2 hours. Ceres had to practically drag him away when the orphanage was about to close. As they were leaving, Ceres turned back and waved to me. Vivi, we'll come pick you up once we've finished the paperwork. I stood behind the iron gate and nodded. The iron gate was still rusty, with paint flaking off in patches, but I felt like the world outside the gate seemed a little brighter. On the 42nd day, the paperwork came through. Silas was riding a somewhat worn-out 28-inch bicycle, with a new quilt tied to the back rack. Ceres sat on the rear seat, holding a brand-new school bag in her arms. It was red, printed with a chubby panda. Let's go, Vivi, Ceres said, hopping off the bike and reaching out her hand to me. Let's go home. I walked over and took her hand, 3 fingers curled tightly around my small hand. I didn't look back at the iron gate of the orphanage. In my previous life, I looked back. I stood behind that iron gate for 7 years, always waiting for Jean to come and get me. In this life, I moved forward, for life wasn't rich, but it was steady. Silas attended classes during the day and tutored me in the evenings. Ceres works from dawn till dusk, and after returning from the textile factory, she still has to cook, do laundry, and clean the house. She works a bit slower than most people, especially when chopping vegetables. Her right hand isn't very steady with the knife, often resulting in uneven cuts. I brought a small stool and sat beside her, helping her pick vegetables. Vivi, go do your homework. Mom will take care of these chores. She calls me Vivi, and refers to herself as Mom. The first time I heard that word, I was stunned. For a long time in my past life, no one ever called me that. Jean called me Jinx, the matron at the orphanage called me Vivi, and later, when Jean took me back, Lily called me that person, Mom. I tried calling out. Ceres almost dropped the kitchen knife in her hand. She turned to look at me, her eyes instantly reddening, then she wiped them hard with her sleeve. Hey, I'm right here, Mom. Her eyes crinkled into crescents as she smiled. She wiped her right hand, missing a finger, on her apron and then patted my head. Silas coughed from the next room. You called for your mother, but not your father. I turned to look at him. He leaned against the doorframe, deliberately putting on a stern face, but his eyes behind his glasses were shining brightly. Dad, I called out again. He adjusted his glasses, gave a quiet and turned to go back inside, but I saw him secretly wipe the corner of his eye with the back of his hand once he was in the room. I've taken all of this to heart. On my first day of first grade, Silas walked me to the school gate. He crouched down to adjust my backpack straps. His left leg was lame, making the movement a bit of a struggle. Vivi, if anyone gives you a hard time at school, you tell your dad, okay? If anyone asks about your parents, he paused, choosing his words carefully, just say they work in town and it's not convenient for them to pick you up. He was afraid I'd be teased at school for having parents with disabilities. I won't say that, I said, looking at him. I'll say my dad's a teacher and my mom works in a factory. They're amazing. His Adam's apple bobbed. Go ahead. He patted the back of my head. Dad will pick you up after school. He did come to pick me up every day, riding that half-worn 28-inch bike. His left leg pedaled slightly slower than his right, and the wheels creaked and groaned. There were many parents at the school gate, and he blended into the crowd without standing out. But I could always spot him at a glance, because he was the only one who would stand by the car, rising on the toes of his less agile left leg to peer toward the school entrance, and so it went for 3 years. In the autumn when I was 10, Jean showed up at our door. It was a Saturday. Silas was grading papers at home, and Ceres was airing out the quilts in the yard. I was sitting on the doorstep doing my workbook when I heard a frantic knocking at the courtyard gate. Excuse me. Is this teacher Silas's house? Ceres put down the quilt and went to open the door. The door opened. I saw an elderly woman with graying hair, wearing a dark red coat and a gold necklace around her neck. It had been 3 years since I last saw her, and she had aged considerably, but her shrewd eyes remained unchanged. Jean, her gaze swept past Ceres and landed on me at the threshold, then her eyes lit up. Vivi. I didn't speak. Ceres stepped in front of me. Who are you? Jean's expression instantly softened into a kind one, her eyes welling up. I'm Vivi's real grandmother. I've been looking for her for 3 years, and finally found her. She took a step forward, reaching out to push Ceres aside. Vivi, Grandma's here to take you home. I put down my pen and looked up at her. In my past life, Jean also came looking for me when I was 10, but it wasn't because she missed me, it was because Lily had been diagnosed with aplastic anemia and needed a familial match. Jean had exhausted every connection, until she finally remembered the granddaughter she had abandoned to an orphanage. My gaze shifted from Jean's face to the space behind her. A black sedan was parked at the mouth of the alley. The window was rolled halfway down, revealing a little girl's face. She had fair skin, double eyelids, and her hair was tied up with 2 bows. Lily was tilting her head as she looked over here, a lollipop in her mouth. Jean followed my gaze and glanced over, a flicker of unease crossing her face. Vivi, your little sister Lily isn't feeling well. You should. Before she could finish her sentence, Silas emerged from inside the house. He stood beside Ceres, placed a hand on her shoulder, and looked at Jean. Hello, I'm Vivi's father, he said, his tone calm and measured. What can I do for you? Jean gave him a quick once-over, her gaze lingering on his limp for a couple of seconds. A faint smirk tugged at the corner of her mouth. I am Vivi's real grandmother. Back then, we had no choice but to give her away due to financial difficulties. Now that things have improved, I want to bring the child back home. Ceres' face turned pale in an instant. She instinctively turned to look at me, her eyes filled with panic. I stood up, walked over to her, and took her hand. 3 of her fingers immediately tightened around mine. Trembling with the force, Jean stared at our clasped hands, a frown creasing his brow. Vivi, come with Grandma. Her tone hardened. You are a Sioux child, and you will eventually return to your roots. I looked at her and suddenly laughed. Return to my roots. Jean was taken aback by my laugh. Is Lily sick? I asked. Jean's face changed to 5. The air froze for a few seconds. Jean's expression was as if someone had grabbed her by the throat. Her mouth hung open, but no sound came out for a long time. How did you know? I didn't answer her question. You need a match, right? Jean's eyes flickered for a moment before her expression settled back into its usual kindly, gentle look. Vivi, what are you talking about? Grandma just missed you, that's all. Jean, I called her by her full name. A 7-year-old, no, a 10-year-old child was calling her own grandmother by her given name. Her face froze completely. When you sent me away, you called me a jinx, said I'd cursed my father's death. I spoke calmly, as if reciting a textbook. Now that Lily needs bone marrow, you come looking for me. Silas gave Ceres' shoulder a squeeze and murmured, so that's how it is. Ceres snapped to attention and yanked me behind her. Go ahead, Vivi is our daughter. The adoption paperwork is complete and legally recognized. Jean's expression changed several times, finally forcing a smile through gritted teeth. I know you've been good to Vivi, and I'm truly grateful, but Vivi is still our Sioux family's bloodline, and Lily is sick. As she spoke, her eyes reddened, and her voice trembled. Please, I'm begging you. As a grandmother, she made a gesture as if to kneel. Ceres was startled and instinctively took a step back. Jean took 2 steps forward and reached out to grab my arm. Vivi, come back with Grandma to see Lily, just for a glance. Don't touch me. I took a step back, avoiding her hand. Jean's hand froze in midair, and the mask of kindness on her face finally cracked. How can you be so unreasonable? Lily is your own cousin. She is her own person, and I am mine. Jean's voice rose sharply. How can you bear to watch your own sister die? Inside the black car at the mouth of the alley, Lily's face was pressed against the window. Her lollipop had fallen at some point, and her wide, round eyes were fixed in a vacant stare in this direction. Jean, Silas took an unsteady step forward, placing himself between Jean and both Ceres and me. 3 years ago, you personally took Vivi to the orphanage and signed the papers relinquishing your parental rights. Legally speaking, you and Vivi have no relationship whatsoever. I am her biological grandmother. Can the law override blood ties? Yes. Silas's voice was not loud, but steady. You are standing at my doorstep with no legal grounds to take my daughter. If you don't leave, I will call the police. Jean's lips trembled slightly. She clearly didn't expect a crippled village teacher to be so assertive. Fine, just wait. She took 2 steps back, pointing a finger at us. Vivi is Sue's blood. This isn't over. She turned and walked toward the alley entrance, then looked back at me after a few steps. Vivi, your father is watching from heaven. How can you not acknowledge your grandmother? How can you face your deceased father? I stood behind Ceres, watching her. My dad is Silas, I said. Jean's face turned a deep shade of purple. She mumbled a few words, then flicked her sleeve and strode toward the car. The door slammed shut, and the black car turned around, speeding off in a flash. The alley fell silent. Ceres crouched down and pulled me into her arms. Her body trembled, 3 fingers clutching the back of my shirt, holding on desperately tight. Vivi, Mom won't let them take you away. I know, I said, burying my face in her shoulder, she smelled of laundry detergent, with a faint scent of sun-dried bedding. Silas stood beside me, patted my head, and said nothing, but I noticed his other hand was in his pocket, clenched into a fist. He was scared, too. He was afraid that Jean might really find a way to take me back. That evening at dinner, Ceres cooked an extra dish, braised pork belly, made with a piece of that had been kept at home for a long time. Eat more. She kept piling food into my bowl. Silas coughed. You're giving all the meat to Vivi. What am I supposed to eat? Eat your vegetables. Ceres glared at him. He smiled faintly and continued eating. The light bulb above the dining table emitted a dim, yellowish glow. As I looked at their faces, a sudden wave of bitterness welled up inside me. In my past life, I never had a meal under such warm lighting. In this life, I am determined to protect this home for the next 3 months. Jean never showed up again. I thought she had given up, but I was wrong. She didn't come to me. She went to the Education Bureau. 6. In the winter, Silas was summoned by the Education Bureau for a talk. By the time he returned, it was already dark. Ceres had reheated the meal 3 times and was standing at the door, waiting. He came slowly from the mouth of the alley, his left leg dragging on the ground, moving with more effort than usual. Ceres went to meet him. I saw her lips part, but no words came out. Silas went inside, sat down at the table, and for a long time, he didn't touch his chopsticks. What's wrong? Ceres asked softly. Someone reported me for illegally adopting using my teacher's identity, and also said I have poor character and am unfit to continue teaching. He took off his glasses and pinched the bridge of his nose. I can't figure out who reported me, but he didn't go on. Needless to say, I knew who it was, unable to find a legal reason to take me away. Jean started making underhanded moves. She had it all figured out. As long as Silas lost his job, the family would lose its financial support. Can a disabled couple with no income even afford to raise a child? Then, with the excuse of for the child's sake, they'll have every reason to take me back. What did the Education Bureau say? Ceres' voice was tight. They asked me to write a statement, suspend my classes, and wait for the investigation results. Suspend your classes. Ceres' voice shot up. You've been teaching for 10 years. When have you ever been morally unfit? Quiet. Don't let Vivi hear. I stood at the bedroom door, unnoticed by them. I tightened my grip on the pencil in my hand. In his previous life, Silas hadn't experienced these. In their previous life, he and Ceres adopted Xiaoyu and lived out their days in peace and contentment. It was I who brought trouble to their doorstep. This thought festered in my heart like a splinter, but I quickly plucked it out. I'm not the Vivi from my past life who could only cry and blame herself. The next day, I went to see Sister Zhang from the welfare home has been transferred to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I went there alone by bus, which took 2 hours. Vivi, Sister Zhang stood up in surprise when she saw me at the office door. How did you come here by yourself? Do Mr. Silas and Ceres know? Ms. Zhang, I need to look something up, I said as I walked in, placing my backpack on a chair. When my grandmother brought me to the orphanage all those years ago, did she sign a document relinquishing custody? Ms. Zhang nodded. She did. Is that document still around? It's in the archives. It's kept on file. As per regulations, there's one more thing. I looked at her. Did my grandmother say anything when she sent me here? Something like I'm the one who caused my father's death? Zhang Jia's expression changed. She remained silent for a moment, then slowly nodded. Was there any record of that at the time? There are reception records. But Vivi, why are you asking about this, Ms. Zhang, I need copies of these records. I took a deep breath. Someone is bullying my parents. Ms. Zhang looked at me for a long time. A 10-year-old child, sitting in the Civil Affairs Bureau office, was calmly and logically requesting to access a 3-year-old file. Without asking too many questions, she got up and went to the records room. 20 minutes later, she returned carrying a manila envelope. Vivi, she said, crouching down in front of me and handing me the envelope, you're braver than any adult I've ever met. I took the envelope and thanked her. On the way back, the bus swayed gently, and the trees outside the window receded. Like a rewinding tape, I held the paper bag in my arms, looking down at the brown paper on it. Inside was Jean's handwritten statement of relinquishing custody. The reason was clearly written in black and white. The child's fate is unfavorable, and the family is unable to provide for them. There was also the reception log from that day, which recorded every word Jean said in clear detail. This child was the death of her father. Keeping her at home is nothing but trouble. I put the paper bag into my backpack and zipped it up. When I got home, Silas was sitting in the yard, lost in thought. A cup of cold tea sat before him, with a stack of ungraded student papers at his side. He saw me come in and forced a smile. Vivi, have you finished your homework, Dad? I walked up to him and set my backpack on the table. Jean won't get away with His smile froze on his face. I unzipped my backpack and pushed the brown paper bag in front of him. These are the documents she signed herself back then, giving up custody, along with the orphanage's reception records, I said. She called me a jinx and willingly abandoned me. Now that she wants to take it back, the law won't allow it. Silas looked down at the paper bag, his fingers slowly touching the seal. Submit these materials to the Education Bureau, and attach a copy of your teaching resume along with a joint testimonial from the parents of your students. I said in one breath, you've been teaching for 10 years, and your students and their parents will speak up for you. He looked up at me, and there was a mist gathering in his eyes behind the glasses. Vivi, Dad, you've protected me for 3 years, I said. Now it's my turn. 7. The investigation by the Education Bureau lasted for 2 weeks, 3 days after Silas submitted the materials. The parents of his former students spontaneously organized a joint letter with 27 signatures and red thumbprints, which was delivered to the Education Bureau office. The letter detailed how teacher Silas had been providing free tutoring to impoverished students, buying stationery out of his own pocket, and visiting students' homes on a bicycle despite his limp, never complaining even when traversing mountain paths. The investigation concluded quickly. The report was unfounded, and Silas's teaching position was reinstated. Jean's first move failed, but she didn't stop there. In early spring, a man in a suit came knocking at the door. He claimed to be a lawyer, surnamed he, handed over a business card, spoke politely, but his eyes told a different story. Mr. Silas, I am here on behalf of Ms. Jean to discuss matters with you. Silas didn't invite him inside. They stood at the gate of the courtyard. Ms. Jean wishes to have a paternity test done with the child to confirm the blood relationship. If it is confirmed that she is her granddaughter, she will pursue legal means to regain custody. She signed a statement relinquishing her parental rights 3 years ago, Silas said. Lawyer, he smiled. Mr. Silas, there's a legal concept called change of circumstances. Ms. Jean was forced to give up her rights due to financial difficulties back then, but now her economic situation has improved, and the child's cousin is unwell and needs family care. You mean the care involves a bone marrow transplant, right? My voice came from behind Silas. Lawyer, he glanced down at me, his sharp, well-dressed demeanor faltering for a moment. Little kid, I'm not a little kid, I'm the party involved in this case, I said. Go back and tell Jean that if she dares to sue, I'll make public every word she said at the orphanage back then. What words? She said I killed my dad, that I'm a jinx, that keeping me around would doom the whole family. I spoke slowly, enunciating each word. The orphanage has written records, signed and documented. Lawyer, his smile faded slightly. A biological grandmother, driven by superstition, abandoned her 7-year-old granddaughter at an orphanage. 3 years later, when the girl needed to donate bone marrow, she had the audacity to come back and claim her. I continued. Lawyer, do you think public opinion would side with anyone in a case like this? Lawyer, he fell silent. For a 10-year-old girl to say such things, anyone would find it disturbing, but he clearly had no desire to probe the reasons behind this disturbing behavior, because every word I said pointed to one undeniable fact: this lawsuit was unwinnable. I'll relay your concerns to Ms. Jean, were his final words before he turned and left. After he left, Silas crouched down and looked at me, not saying a word for a long time. Dad, are you trying to say I don't act like a 10-year-old? A little bit. So, are you afraid of me? He reached out and ruffled my hair. What are you afraid of? You're my daughter. The courtyard is bathed in lovely sunlight, and Ceres is drying cured meat inside, the aroma wafting out. Vivi, Silas, come eat. Coming. Silas stood up and headed toward the house. I followed behind him, watching his limping back, and suddenly called out to him, Dad, you're the best dad in the world. He paused for a moment, then he quickened his pace and walked into the house without looking back, but I heard him clear his throat heavily inside the house. Ceres' voice came from inside. Got another cold? Let me make you some ginger soup. No, thanks, I just choked a bit. Jean was quiet the whole summer. When autumn came, I started 4th grade and came top of the whole year in the midterm exams. Silas put my award certificate up on the wall of the main room, right next to his own teaching commendations. Everything seemed to be looking up. One evening in November, Ceres was stopped on her way home from work. She came home late that day, with dirty footprints on her apron, her hair half down, and a red mark on her cheek. Silas asked her what happened, and she said she had fallen off her bike. She was lying. I found a note in the pocket of her coat she had just taken off. It had 8 words written on it. Be smart. Return the person. 8. I didn't tell Silas about the note. It wasn't that I didn't trust him. It was because I know how he is. He's a scholar. His first instinct is always to reason things out and follow proper procedure. But Jean has moved beyond reason. She started playing dirty. I'll have to handle this a different way. The next day after school, I didn't go home but went to the only internet cafe in town. A 10-year-old kid entering the internet cafe, the owner glanced at me, took a yuan, and let me sit down. I spent 2 hours searching online for all the information I could find about Jean. In my previous life, I didn't know these things because in my previous life, I was taken back to the Su family at the age of 14 and became Lily's spare parts depot, living in a daze until I was 26, but this life is different. I found out 3 things. First, Jean's son, who is my biological father Harold, wasn't cursed to death by me. He died in a construction site accident, and the site paid compensation, which Jean took and spent on Lily's mother, Harold's second wife Gillian. Second, Lily is not Harold's biological daughter. When Gillian brought Lily into the marriage, Lily was already 2 years old. Jean, at the time, forced Harold to accept this stepdaughter in order to give him a complete family. Third, Jean owns 2 properties. One was acquired as a relocation settlement, and the other was purchased using Harold's death compensation. As Harold's biological daughter, I have a legal right to inherit that compensation. That's what she's truly afraid of. She's afraid that when I grow up, I'll come back to claim a share of the property and the money. That's why she chose to abandon me when I was just 7 years old, wanting me gone as far away as possible, hoping I'd never return. But Lily just happened to fall ill. She needs my bone marrow, more precisely, she needs Harold's lineage. This jinx she once wished to trample into the mud has suddenly become her lifeline. How ironic. I printed out the information I found in triplicate. 1 copy was sent to the legal aid center in town, another copy was sent to the newspaper in the city. The last one, I stuffed it into an envelope, wrote Jean's address, affixed a stamp, and dropped it into the mailbox by the roadside. The letter contained only 1 sentence. Lily is not Harold's biological daughter, I am. How much of that compensation should I get? A week later, Gillian arrived. She wasn't as good at pretending as Jean, and as soon as she walked in, she started yelling at Ceres. Does your adopted daughter have a problem? What kind of nonsense did she send to my mother-in-law? Ceres blocked the doorway and didn't let her in. Please speak more politely. Polite. Gillian stood with her hands on her hips, her voice loud enough to be heard halfway down the alley. That wild girl they picked up, how dare she say my daughter isn't a Sioux? What kind of Sioux family member is she? She's Harold's biological daughter. Silas came out of the house leaning on a cane. Whether you're part of the Sioux family or not, you know it in your heart. Gillian's face turned red. You crippled fool. Mom. I stepped out from behind Silas and looked at Gillian. Who are you calling crippled? Gillian flinched at my gaze, took half a step back, and then regained her composure. Curse your cripple of a foster father. You're just some worthless trash they threw away, and you think you can compete with my Lily for the inheritance? Keep dreaming, you pathetic fool. I'm not after the inheritance. I cut her off. Gillian froze. I just want everyone to know the truth, I said. Jean abandoned me because of her superstitions. Lily isn't even a real Sioux, and you're living in a mansion funded by my father's death compensation. How do you think all that will sound when it gets out? Gillian's lips began to tremble. You little. I sent a copy to the newspaper as well. Gillian's face went white in an instant. She turned and ran, her high heels clattering sharply on the cobblestones of the alley. Watching her retreat in such a sorry state brought me no satisfaction, because this wasn't over. 3 days later, a reporter from the city newspaper arrived. 9. The journalist was a young woman in her 20s, wearing round-framed glasses and carrying a bulging canvas bag. She almost tripped over the threshold of the courtyard as she entered. Her name was Faye, and she was a reporter for the local daily social section. Did you send us that letter? She asked, sitting on a small stool in the courtyard, flipping through the materials I had sent. She looked up at me, clearly surprised. Yes, I did. How old are you this year? 10 years old. Faye adjusted her glasses and exchanged a glance with Silas. Silas nodded. Everything Vivi said is true. Faye lowered her head to look at the materials again, studying them for a long time. If this case gets reported, it will attract a lot of attention, she said, closing the folder. But I need to verify all the information. Could you walk me through everything from the beginning? I started from when Jean sent me to the orphanage, then talked about her coming to demand my return, her reporting Silas, and finally about Ceres being stopped and threatened on the road. Faye listened and took notes, her pen scratching softly against the notebook. Her pen stopped at the very end. You said Ceres was threatened. Do you have any evidence? I took out the note. Be smart and return the person. Faye took the note, looked at it, and frowned. Can this note prove that Jean was behind it? It doesn't directly prove it, I said. But the night Ceres was intercepted, Jean asked Gillian over the phone, has the matter been taken care of? How do you know about that phone call? The day Gillian came to our house and caused a scene. Her phone buzzed with a message. After reading it, her expression changed, and she quickly deleted it, but I saw the sender on the screen. Mom, Faye remained silent for a few seconds. You're very clever. I just don't want to be bullied anymore. Faye's report was published 2 weeks later. The headline read, 7-year-old girl sent to welfare home by her grandmother for killing her father. Grandmother returns 3 years later to donate bone marrow for her step-granddaughter. The report didn't use my real name, but Jean's actions were laid out one by one. Superstition led to the abandonment of the granddaughter, the usurpation of the granddaughter's legal inheritance, and threats to the adoptive family. On the day the newspaper was published, Jean's phone was flooded with calls. Neighbors, relatives, her square dance buddies, everyone was asking the same question. Jean, did you really abandon your granddaughter? Jean wailed over the phone, claiming the newspaper was spreading lies and that someone was deliberately setting her up, but no one believed it anymore, because Faye had attached the orphanage's reception log to her report, the one with Jean's own signature. It was there in black and white, undeniable. On the 5th day after the report was published, Jean showed up in person. This time, she came alone, without her lawyer, without Jillian. She had aged so much in just a few months. Her hair was now streaked with white, her eyes were heavy with bags, and she looked utterly drained, as if the life had been sucked right out of her. She stood at the gate of the courtyard, looking at me. Her lips trembled for a long moment before she finally managed to force out the words, Vivi, Grandma was wrong. I stood inside the door, watching her through the half-open wooden door. Where did I go wrong? I asked. Her mouth opened, then closed again. You don't know where you went wrong, do you? I said. You just feel like things have escalated. You're embarrassed, and you're scared. Not, Jean, it wasn't your mistake to send me away, I said. Your mistake was that you never treated me like a human being. Her tears finally fell, mingling with the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes. My father is dead, and instead of comforting me, you blame me for his death. I was only 7, and you left me to face all of this alone, then discarded me like trash. Now that you need me, you suddenly remember you have a granddaughter. Jean trembled and took a step forward. Vivi, please, Grandma is begging you. Lily really doesn't have much time left. Lily isn't a Sioux by blood. My voice was calm. Even if I were to be tested for compatibility with her, there's no guarantee it would match. Using the compensation money from my father to register in a legitimate bone marrow bank is the proper way to go. Jean's legs gave way, and she almost collapsed to her knees. I turned around and walked into the house. As I closed the door, I heard her wailing outside. The sound was loud and intense, as if she were releasing all the pent-up emotions of the past few years. I didn't stop. 10. The ending was more mundane than I had expected. Jean never came back. Faye's follow-up report tracked Lily's condition, and under media attention, the city's Red Cross intervened, helping Lily register in the Chinese bone marrow donor registry. 3 months later, the match was successful. The donor was a college student from another province, a complete stranger. Lily survived. Jillian moved with Lily to another place and never contacted the Sioux family again. Before leaving, she transferred the house bought with Harold's compensation money to Lily's name, a result of the Legal Aid Center's intervention and negotiation. My share of the inheritance was converted into a sum of money and deposited into Silas's account. It wasn't much, but it was enough to buy Ceres a new sewing machine, Silas a bicycle that didn't squeak, and cover my tuition from elementary school through high school. The day Silas received the money, he remained silent for a long time at the dinner table. This money, it's Vivi's. We can't use it, Dad. If you don't use it, it's like you don't see me as family, I said. Ceres wiped her tears beside me. Oh, you silly child. The sewing machine's thread keeps skipping. Mom, you have to unpick everything 3 times for each piece, I said between mouthfuls of rice. Buy a new one. The time you save can be used to make more clothes. It'll pay for itself. Ceres's tears turned to a smile as she tapped my forehead with 3 fingers. You and your bright ideas. I only heard about Jean's whereabouts 2 years later. She lived alone in the relocation apartment, her health deteriorating, and she rarely went out. Her old dance partners invited her to join them, but she refused. Neighbors said she sometimes sat on the balcony in broad daylight, mumbling things that were hard to make out. Someone eavesdropped and said she kept repeating the same phrase over and over. When Vivi was little, she loved eating tanghulu. I was doing my 7th grade math homework when I heard this. The pen in my hand paused, then I kept writing. She remembered that I loved sugar-coated haws on a stick, but she didn't remember that when she pushed me out the door herself, I still had half a skewer of unfinished sugar-coated haws in my backpack. That half skewer of sugar-coated haws, I secretly finished it on the first night at the orphanage. The haw berries were no longer crisp, and the outer sugar coating had turned into a sticky layer. sticking to my teeth, both sour and sweet. That was my last memory of the Sioux family. I never went to look for her again, nor did I hate her. Hatred is too heavy to carry far. That summer when I was 13, I got into the city's key high school, ranking first in the whole town. Silas rode his newly bought bicycle to school to pick me up and get the admission notice. The new bike no longer made noise, but his left leg still pedaled half a beat slower than his right. I sat on the back seat, clutching the red admission notice in my hand, with the wind blowing past my ears. Dad, don't pick me up anymore. I can ride my bike myself. No, there are too many cars on the road. Then teach me how to ride a bike. All right. Ceres was waiting at the front door, still wearing her apron and holding a plate of freshly cooked eggplant. Her eyes lit up when she saw the acceptance letter, then welled with tears. I knew Vivi would get in for sure. She set the plate on the table and reached out to hug me. My daughter is so amazing. Silas stood beside her, pushing his glasses up, his lips struggling to suppress a smile. Dinner in the courtyard was still just the three of them, with an extra plate of red-cooked pork on the table. The bulb was still the same low-wattage one, casting a dim, yellowish light, but I think that's enough. After dinner, I helped Ceres with the dishes. She was wiping the table nearby when she suddenly asked, Vivi, what do you want to do in the future? I put the last bowl into the cupboard. Become a lawyer. Being a lawyer is good. She smiled and nodded. Defending the poor in court. Yeah, I said. Defending people like us. She placed her crippled right hand on my shoulder and gently patted it twice. The moon outside the window is full, and the chirping of insects comes from beyond the courtyard wall. Silas is correcting homework in the next room. Occasionally the sound of pen on paper can be heard. I leaned against the kitchen doorframe and looked at the small courtyard for a while. My award certificate is pasted on the wall, next to Silas's honor certificate. Ceres hung a new dress she sewed for me on the clothesline, with a floral pattern, and the stitching was much neater than 3 years ago. The loofah vines in the corner have clumbed all over the wall, and the leaves emit a dark green glow under the moonlight. This is my home, not the Sioux family, not the orphanage. It was Silas and Ceres who gave me a home. In my previous life, I spent 26 years and died once, yet I never found it. In this life, I found it at the age of 7. The end. Story 2. My sister-in-law heard that taking vitamin C boosts immunity. Hey Vale, are you free? Bring your boyfriend along. I'm treating you both to dinner. I really need to properly thank you too. I called my friend who works as a hotel front desk clerk. She ground the stockpiled vitamin C tablets into powder and added them to my nephew's formula. Nora, it was nothing. Let's just have dinner ourselves. No need to invite him. If my sister-in-law found his looks appealing, he should consider himself lucky. Vale replied jokingly. When I took my nephew to the hospital, they found severe burns in his gastrointestinal tract. Yes, the man Sandra was seeing was Vale's boyfriend, and I was the one who personally booked their hotel room for them. I consulted a nutritionist to help him recover, and he barely managed to grow up, but with his poor nutrient absorption, he only grew to 5 feet 3 inches. And never caught girls' attention. This is all your aunt's quack remedies. If you'd listened to me, you'd be 6 feet tall by now. The insecure nephew bought into his aunt's lies, grabbed a knife, and murdered me. When I opened my eyes again, I'd swapped the vitamin C powder my sister-in-law used with expired pills. 1. You're making the formula wrong. Lucian won't drink that kind. Go prepare the one on the coffee table for him. Sandra saw me preparing the new formula I'd bought for my nephew, and she hit the roof. Hearing her voice boom like thunder, I realized I had been reborn. In my past life, she had slapped the prepared bottle of formula right out of my hand. She even had the nerve to say that's why I only got into a vocational college. I can't even mix formula properly. When I opened the formula can, she pointed out, I found it contaminated with some unidentified white powder. I asked if the formula had expired, and she looked at me with disdain, saying she'd added something special to it. Then, right in front of me, she pulled out 3 boxes of vitamin C she'd stockpiled during the pandemic, ground them into powder, and mixed it into the new formula. How could you give Lucian vitamin C? This is medicine. I asked her in surprise. What's the big deal? He's always sick and keeps me up at night. Experts say vitamin C boosts immunity. My sister-in-law retorted with a disdainful look. I pressed further. How long has he been taking it? She counted on her fingers deliberately. A month and a half. Got a problem with that? Oh my God, this woman is absolutely insane. Lucian has an underdeveloped gastrointestinal system. Taking this much vitamin C will burn his stomach and intestines, and it could lead to serious trouble. I patiently explained to her, don't just flap your lips and spout nonsense here. As a graduate student, I know a lot more than you, a mere college dropout, my sister-in-law said disdainfully, looking at me. How many days has it been since Lucian last pooped? I asked my sister-in-law while feeling his bloated belly. 3 days without a bowel movement is perfectly normal. He's absorbing all the nutrients, my sister-in-law declared with pride. Upon hearing this, I rushed to the hospital despite her attempts to stop me. Fortunately, we arrived in time to save Lucian's intestinal tract. The doctors immediately performed gastric lavage, cleared his bowels, and relieved the blockage, saving him from literal fecal suffocation. My mom, brother, and sister-in-law just stood by without lifting a finger. They figured since I was the one who brought my nephew to the hospital, I should be the one to pay, so I had no choice but to go settle the bill. After all that, Lucian's gastrointestinal tract was saved. My brother was incredibly grateful that I saved his son and gave my sister-in-law an earful right in front of me. Even though my sister-in-law still resents me, she knew she was in the wrong. She shot me a couple of resentful glares. After all, my nephew's gastrointestinal system had been damaged, so his digestion and absorption were slower than that of a normal child. He's a very picky eater and his growth has been very slow. I paid out of my own pocket to have a doctor help regulate his system, but the results weren't significant. He only managed to grow to 1.6 meters. During matchmaking meetings, many women thought he was too short, so he never found a wife. You did this on purpose, stopping Lucian from taking vitamin supplements and bringing in that useless doctor with their quack treatments. If you hadn't stuck your nose where it didn't belong, he would have grown to 6 feet tall and found a wife by now. My sister-in-law dumped all the blame squarely on me. My nephew, overhearing this, made me the target of his pent-up frustration. He ambushed me in a back alley after my night shift, trying to cut me down, but fate had other plans. I survived. This time, I'm going to help my sister-in-law see the light. When no one was looking, I swapped all her powdered vitamin C with expired ones too. My nephew was wailing from hunger. Go make the formula now. My sister-in-law, who was watching thirst traps on Douyin, snapped at me. How do I make it? I don't know how. I accidentally knocked over the formula container on the coffee table. What an idiot. No wonder you could only get into a vocational college. My sister-in-law grumbled as she reluctantly got up. After feeding the baby the spiked formula, she noticed the new container on the table and told me to fetch the vitamin C from the kitchen cabinet. Which cabinet? I rummaged around haphazardly, making a complete mess of the kitchen. My mom, who was preparing a snack for my sister-in-law, whacked me on the head with a rolling pin. Are you blind? It's right in front of you. My mom handed me the vitamin C bottle, signaling me to take it over, but my feet slipped out from under me, and I went tumbling to the floor. Hurry up already. The kid's starving to death, my sister-in-law yelled from the other room. Reluctantly, my mom brought out the expired vitamin C in the grinding machine. It's not that I didn't want to take it, I just knew that if anything went wrong, she'd pin the blame on me. This time, I'll let my mom do it. She's always on the same page as my sister-in-law. Are you putting in too much? My mom stammered hesitantly. Then we saw my sister-in-law pour 2 whole bottles in. What do you know? You can't even read a single character. Stop bossing people around. My sister-in-law snapped at my mom disdainfully. Nora, come take a look at this. My mom called me over to help persuade my sister-in-law. Mom, I'm just a college grad. How could I know more than someone with a master's degree? I quickly declined. My sister-in-law looked smug. Experts have done experiments on this. It's all on CNK. Never mind. You two wouldn't get it anyway. As she spoke, she poured in the powdered vitamin C. Nora, you work at the hospital. Why don't you ask one of the doctors? My mom was so worried something might happen to her precious grandson that she asked me to step in again. I'm just a nurse with an associate's degree. The doctors don't even pay me any attention. Besides, Mom, don't you trust Sandra? She has a master's from a top university. You really think you know better than her? My mom was visibly flustered. Sandra, with her superior education, always felt she'd married beneath her. She had a fiery temper and had my mom completely under her thumb, no matter how high and mighty my mom acted around me. She wouldn't dare breathe a word out of turn in front of Sandra. My sister-in-law shot my mother a resentful glare, to which Mom hastily waved her hands and said she was meddling in things that weren't her business. Then, Mom proceeded to feed the prepared formula to my nephew, 2 full bottles of it. At this rate, something's bound to go wrong within half a month. 3, I need to get out of here fast, or I'll end up taking the fall for this. The branch office was short-staffed, so I volunteered to transfer there. The branch is in a remote location. It takes 5 hours to drive there. The farther away I am, the harder it is for them to drag me into their mess. If anything goes wrong, they can't pin it on me. Before I left, my mom got me 6 months' worth of living expenses. She called it storage fees, claiming that even though I'm not there, my stuff is taking up space and I have to pay for it. I didn't want to argue with her, so I transferred the money and made myself Scarce, as I was heading out, my sister-in-law yelled after me, "You don't have many expenses living alone. Remember to set aside money each month for your nephew's formula. He's the family's future. You should support him more. When you get married, if your husband ever mistreats you, your nephew will have your back." Yeah, right, as if I'd fall for that. I'm not stupid. I already gave her living expenses. And now she wants formula money too. She must think I'm made of money. Besides, I have no idea whether my husband would ever hit me or not. It won't be long before her husband ends up hitting her. You're absolutely right, sis. So how about you send me some money first? I still need to cover rent and other expenses. It'll come to nearly $10,000. I just gave mom my share for living expenses, so I'm broke right now. Please help me out a little, and I'll buy formula for your son as soon as I get my paycheck, I said to her with a wide, ingratiating smile. My sister-in-law shot up from the couch. You're out of your mind. You haven't spent a single penny on my son. Why should I give you any money? It's not like I'm living in that rental of yours, so why should I pay for it? Fine, remember what you said today. When you come asking for my help, we'll see how many excuses I can come up with. The branch hospital was remote and understaffed. Since I was hardworking and never went home, I was quickly promoted to head nurse, and my salary doubled. Not having to see my sister-in-law's sour face every day or endure my mother's rolling pin made me feel much better. 10 days later, my mother secretly called me. "Nora, Lucian hasn't had a bowel movement in a week. His belly is swollen like a balloon. Do you think something's wrong?" Seems my mom isn't clueless after all. His digestive tract is damaged and can't process food properly, so of course he can't pass stool. Even an adult would have digestive issues taking that much vitamin C daily. Though with enough physical activity, the impact might not be this severe. But a baby under 3 months old just eats and sleeps. Overdosing on vitamin C burns their digestive tract, and all that formula they drink can't be expelled. It just builds up in their gut. No wonder their belly swells up like a balloon. Lucian might have a bowel obstruction. He needs to see a doctor right away, but I don't want to give misguided advice and end up taking the blame for it. I didn't get much schooling and don't know much. Ask your sister-in-law. She's more knowledgeable, I said. Trying to get out of it, my mom said helplessly, "Your sister-in-law says it's normal, that babies who poop less grow faster, but what child goes a whole week without a bowel movement? If this keeps up, I'm afraid his stomach might burst." My sister-in-law has a master's degree, yet she claims the less you feed the baby, the faster they grow. That's a new one. Did she give birth to a Pichio? You know, the mythical creature that only consumes and never excretes, but pointing this out to her now would be suicidal. She wouldn't listen. She'd blame me for everything, and I'd end up dead. Seeing how worried my mom is, I need to say something to placate her. "Mom, my sister-in-law has the highest education in our family. With all her reading, she's bound to have common sense. Besides, Lucian is her own flesh and blood. She'd never harm him. Stop worrying unnecessarily, and whatever you do, don't cut back on Lucian's food. If my sister-in-law finds out, she'll give you an earful," my mother shrieked from the other end of the line like a mouse with its tail stepped on. Of course I'm afraid she'll yell at me. I've raised children too. What kid goes this long without a bowel movement? Your brother isn't home, and is Lucian's aunt. It's your responsibility to step in. Get your butt home right now. My mother is clever. She doesn't want to confront my sister-in-law directly, so she's using me as a pawn to draw my sister-in-law's anger toward me. It was the same story in my past life too. My sister-in-law's family blamed me for everything day in and day out, and my mother never once spoke up in my defense. Even knowing her golden grandson killed me, she still helped her precious grandson commit perjury. This time I made sure to stay away, but she still came looking for me first when trouble arose. Am I just destined to be the family's sacrificial lamb? Not this time. I'm going to watch my sister-in-law reap what she sows and see them tear each other apart. Mom, what are you talking about? My sister-in-law did nothing wrong. You're always criticizing her feeding methods. Do you just have it out for her? Besides, as a daughter about to get married, what right do I have to meddle in family affairs? Haven't you always said that a married daughter is like spilled water? She shouldn't interfere, and times have changed. We believe in scientific parenting now. My sister-in-law is well educated and definitely knows what she's doing. Lucian will grow up tall and strong. After unleashing my tirade, I hung up before she could retort and blocked her number. A couple days of peace is better than nothing. I'm not getting involved in this mess. I don't need them looking for reasons to destroy me. Let the one who caused this trouble deal with it. I'm not in the habit of being someone's doormat, for I don't know if my mom confronted my sister-in-law, but I'm certain my sister-in-law is proud of feeding my nephew vitamin C. She posted a video of her nephew's round belly on TikTok with the Caption: all my efforts in scientific feeding have paid off. My son keeps getting chubbier, which means he'll be blessed with good fortune. DM me if you want to learn my methods. Small fee required. My brother and our in-laws all liked the video, praising her for being so talented at feeding the baby until he's plump and healthy. Another mom commented that a baby's belly shouldn't be that big at his age. My sister-in-law fired back, insulting her education and intelligence, and even cursed her child to never have a full stomach until death. My brother backed her up, joining in the verbal attack and threatening to track the commenter down for a confrontation. Unable to withstand the pressure, the mother deleted her comment and kept lavishing praise on how well her sister-in-law was raising the child. Encouraged by these compliments, the sister-in-law started using even more vitamin C and bought another 20 bottles on Pinduoduo, but before she could finish those 20 bottles, I received a call from my mom. Nora, Lucian has been hospitalized. He's vomiting green fluid. Come home quickly, my mom said anxiously. Looks like his stomach finally gave out. With no way out down below, the backed up formula had to come up through his mouth. What else would he vomit but green fluid? I asked in shock. What's really going on with mom? She was fine just days ago. How did this happen so suddenly? My mother's voice trembled with tears. The doctor said Lucian isn't going to make it. They've issued 2 critical condition notices already. Your brother is rushing back from out of town. You need to come home now. Through the receiver came Sandra's voice, cursing the doctors as incompetent quacks. My son was perfectly fine when we brought him in. How did he become critically ill the moment he entered the hospital? What did you do to my son? This heartless hospital just wants to squeeze more money out of us. Don't think you can fool me. I have a master's degree, my sister-in-law shrieked. Please calm down, ma'am. When your child arrived, his airway was blocked by vomit. His condition was extremely critical. It's only through our urgent efforts that he has a fighting chance. Please don't make unfounded accusations, the doctor explained patiently, but there was no reasoning with my sister-in-law. She even tried to get physical, but my brother, who arrived just in time, slapped her senseless. You bastard. How dare you hit me? My sister-in-law was utterly shocked. How dare I? I dare because you fed our son something that landed him in the hospital. What the hell did you give him? My brother roared. You're asking me. I should be asking your mother. She's the one who prepared Lucian's formula before he threw up. I'm sure she tampered with it. My sister-in-law lunged at my mother, who couldn't defend herself and fell to the ground, her phone flying out of her hand. Even through the phone, I could feel the chaos. It must have been quite a scene. My mother scrambled frantically for her phone. Nora, come home quick. This shrew is going to beat me to death. Enough. If you keep causing a scene, we'll have you removed with the child. A male doctor shouted. My sister-in-law, my mother, and my brother all fell silent. How's my grandson? Is there still hope? My mother rushed forward to ask the doctor. The situation is critical. The child has gastric mucosal erosion, severe intestinal adhesions, and a lengthy section of intestinal obstruction. To save him, we must remove a segment of the intestine. Discuss it with your family. If you want to proceed with treatment, sign the consent form immediately, otherwise, we can only take him home and wait. Sandra snapped, tearing the papers from the nurse to shreds. This hospital is a disgrace. You're the ones who should be waiting to die. My son will be perfectly fine. We're checking out, right now. How dare you talk about cutting out my son's intestines? Don't think I don't know you're just after his organs. As long as I'm here, no one is touching my son's intestines, my sister-in-law yelled at the doctor. How ignorant. The doctor must be shocked too. The male doctor patiently explained. We're a proper hospital that follows strict life-saving protocols. It's common knowledge that severed intestines can't be reattached. If this parent had any basic medical awareness, the child wouldn't be in this state. Sandra was stunned. As a graduate student, this was the first time anyone had accused her of lacking common sense. What qualifications do you have to question my knowledge? You're the one who clearly lacks basic understanding. The doctor was truly infuriated by her. What sane person with common sense would let a child take that much vitamin C? This is the child's condition. If you don't want to save him, there's no need to throw a tantrum in the hospital. Just take him home and prepare for the funeral. 5. My brother finally understood. It was his wife, the college graduate, who had put their son in this state. If they didn't act now, his heir, the one meant to carry on the family line, might end up meeting their ancestors. Doctor, I'll sign. Please, do everything you can to save the child. He's innocent. My brother's voice was fraught with anxiety. The nurse handed over the consent form, and my brother signed it without hesitation. Sandra couldn't take it anymore. She accused my brother of conspiring with the hospital to traffic our son's organs. I'm going to the police. You're all in cahoots and have harmed my son. I'll make sure the Police arrest every single one of you. With a loud clang, Sandra's voice trailed off as my mother exclaimed, "That's my boy, good kick. This woman attacked your own mother and nearly got your son killed. Why aren't they cutting your intestines instead? Even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cub. Are you even Lucian's real mother? Just because you're slightly more educated, don't flatter yourself. If you're so capable, why don't you save the child yourself? If Lucian pulls through, consider yourself lucky, but if anything happens to him, I'll cut out every inch of your intestines to replace what they removed from him." My brother's voice was laced with venom. TSK, my brother and Sandra are like a chamber pot finding its lid, a perfect match made in ignorance, refusing to back down. Sandra completely disregarded her dignity and lunged at my brother like a rabid animal. "You're blaming me. You haven't lifted a finger for Lucian since he was born. How dare you call yourself a father? All you did was contribute those 3 minutes and squirm around a bit. I've been breaking my back to take care of him, and now that something's happened, it's all my fault. You wish we're done anyway, and you have the nerve to hit me. I'll scratch your eyes out." She was scratching and kicking like crazy, and my brother was just as bad, grabbing her hair and refusing to let go, and just like that, the two of them started brawling right outside the operating room. "Let go, both of you, let go. Right now, security, we need help over here, this is getting out of hand." My mom on the phone was like a cat on a hot tin roof, desperately trying to hold them back. "Nora, you need to come home now. Lucian might not make it, and your sister-in-law seems to have lost her mind. If you don't come back soon, there won't be a home left to return to." My home has been gone for a long time now, asking me to come back at a time like this. They're clearly just looking for someone to clean up their mess. "I can't, Mom, I just started this job. If I go back now, I'll lose it," I explained uneasily. "How can your pathetic little job compare to Lucian's life? How did I end up with such an ungrateful child? Our family is falling apart, and you're still selfishly only thinking about yourself." My mother scolded me. What a joke. In my past life, I wasn't selfish. I tried to do the right thing and meddled in other people's business, and I ended up getting hacked to death. This time, I'm definitely going to be selfish. There's no way I'm helping them. Mom, it's not that I don't want to quit. I signed a contract to buy formula for Lucian. If I don't work a full year, I'll have to pay a 30,000 penalty. If you can cover that amount for me, I'll come home right away. What? Where would we get 30,000? Are you dreaming? You don't even contribute to the household, and now with Lucian sick and medical bills piling up, there's no money to give you. Hearing me ask for money, my mother's voice turned shrill. "You said it yourself, Lucian needs money for treatment. My brother's back home, my sister-in-law has never worked, and if I return too, there'll be no one earning income. How would we pay for Lucian's medical care? Besides, with you, my brother, and sister-in-law all here, the three of you can definitely take good care of Lucian." The moment my mother heard I was earning money to pay for Lucian's medical treatment, she couldn't be bothered to argue with me any further. Just as the emergency procedure ended, she hung up without hesitation, anxious to see her precious grandson. 6. Although his life was saved, the intestinal infection was so severe that his survival remains uncertain. To keep him alive, the hospital uses imported medications that cost at least 10,000 yuan per day. My brother works at a factory, earning at most 10,000 yuan a month. My sister-in-law has never held a job since they got married, dreaming of living the life of a wealthy housewife. The exorbitant medical bills have become a heavy burden weighing on their minds. My mother called me several times asking for money, but I managed to put her off each time. When she couldn't get the money, my sister-in-law turned cold toward her. In the family group chat, she pinned all her own actions on my mother, accusing her of insisting on giving Lucian vitamin C and now abandoning him when problems arose. My sister-in-law spun such a convincing story that all the aunts in the group chat started calling my mother heartless. When my mother stood her ground, my sister-in-law threatened to expose her actions online. Left with no other choice, my mother had to dig into her life savings, but over the years, she'd been footing most of the bills for my sister-in-law and Lucian's living expenses, so there wasn't much left. That small amount of money is just a drop in the bucket compared to the enormous medical bills. When one plan failed, she quickly hatched another. She spotted a flyer in the hospital's public restroom advertising high payments for egg donation. She and my brother immediately hit it off, scheming to lure me back home so I could sell my eggs. "Nora, I miss you. When are you coming back?" My brother called me out of the blue. My brother is 8 years older than me, and we've never been close since childhood. If he's reaching out to me now, it definitely means trouble. "I can't come back. Just tell me what you want." I cut off his attempt to play the emotional card. Seeing my cold response, he dropped the act. "You're partly responsible for Lucian's Illness. As a nurse, don't you know vitamin C isn't good for babies? You didn't stop your sister-in-law and even moved out. When mom asked you, you didn't care. How can you be so heartless as Lucian's own aunt? Now that something's happened to Lucian, you need to pay up. He started playing dirty. What a joke. Why should I have any conscience? All these years, has he been blind to how my sister-in-law has been mistreating me? Has he ever stepped in even once, every time I had a conflict with my sister-in-law? He never bothered to ask what happened. He'd immediately take her side and blame me. He keeps telling my mom that I'm uneducated, incompetent, and malicious, constantly egging her on to demand living expenses from me. Which one of us is really heartless? I remember every single thing you've done, I retorted sharply. My brother never expected to see this sharp-tongued side of me, the one who's usually so mild-mannered. He started to panic. Everything I do is for your own good. With Dad gone so early, as the eldest brother, I've taken on a father's role. It's my duty to look out for you. And how do you repay me? Not with gratitude, but with betrayal. When our family hit rough times, you took off without a second thought. How can you face our parents? How can you face me and your sister-in-law? How can you even face Lucian? So what are you planning to do? I need to draw out what he's really thinking to figure out my next move. Seeing that I was open to discussion, his tone softened. He earnestly explained the supposed benefits of egg donation, painting this terrifying process in an absurdly positive light. Fine, make the arrangements, I'll be there. The moment I agreed, my brother immediately went to schedule a meeting with the unscrupulous broker. I did show up, but I brought the police with me. After the shady agent got arrested, my brother was absolutely furious. He called me up and accused me of having no conscience. If you don't want to end up in jail, 2, you'd better behave. I showed him the records of him connecting me with that shady agent. This evidence was more than enough to put him behind bars. At this critical moment, the last thing he wanted was to cause more trouble. When his attempt to pressure me into selling my eggs failed, and he still needed to save Lucian, he ended up stealing and pawning my sister-in-law's 3 golds bridal jewelry set. But that money wouldn't even last 2 days. 7, to raise funds, he had to sell the marital home they'd bought just 2 years prior, moving the whole family to a grimy, disorderly subsidized housing unit in the suburbs. After a month of treatment, Lucian was cleared for discharge, but with such a large section of his intestine removed, he lost normal bowel function and would require a permanent colostomy bag. Sandra broke down when she saw Lucian with the colostomy bag. After all the trouble they'd gone through, even selling their house, this was the outcome they got. Mom pressed on, unwilling to give up, and asked the doctor, when can he get rid of this bag? I'm afraid he'll have to wear it for life, the doctor said helplessly. My mother turned pale. She had been convinced that all the effort would surely cure Lucian. He's recovered, but Lucian might as well be an invalid now, with him lugging that contraption around all day. What decent girl would look twice at him? How's he supposed to carry on the family line? My mother's been egging my brother on to make sure Sandra gets what's coming to her. Sandra blames my mother for not talking her out of it, and now they're at each other's throats again. My brother was so furious that he slapped them both. You're both responsible for what's happened to Lucian, my brother roared. He grabbed my sister-in-law by the hair and snarled, and you call yourself a graduate student? You can't even raise a child properly. Weren't you supposed to be so capable? Couldn't you have done some research first? You gave such reckless advice, fed the child like this, and now you're trying to shirk responsibility. And you've had 2 children yourself. Don't you know how to feed a child? Couldn't you even try to talk some sense into her? He shot my mother a resentful glare and started blaming her. Before my mother could process what had happened, the son she had doted on since childhood had just slapped her across the face. She directed all her pent-up resentment toward my sister-in-law. After returning home, my mother became a completely different person, fully embracing the authoritative demeanor of a mother-in-law. The moment my sister-in-law displeased her in any way, she'd grab the rolling pin she used to beat me and start hitting her. Sandra's comfortable days were over. Not only did she have to do all the laundry and cooking, but she also faced frequent beatings. The tasks of caring for Lucian and changing his colostomy bag fell entirely on her shoulders. As a highly educated graduate student, she had never endured such hardship before. At first she was clumsy with the task, and whenever Lucian cried during colostomy bag changes, my mother would beat and kick her. Living in a squalid low-rent apartment while enduring daily mistreatment from her mother-in-law, no graduate student could tolerate such conditions forever. It didn't take long for Sandra to start scheming. Since she wanted to sleep, I'd just hand her the pillow. 8, I'm going out to get a job and earn money, my sister-in-law screamed hysterically at my brother over the phone. My mother would never agree to let her go. If Sandra went to work, the full responsibility of caring for her disabled grandson would fall on her, and she wouldn't be able to go cuddle and dance with the old men in the square. My mother immediately called my brother, demanding that Sandra continue to slave away at home. Sandra finally reached her breaking point. My mother hit her daily. My brother didn't give her a single cent, and on top of that, she had to care for the semi-disabled Lucian. There's no way she could endure such hardship. My mother still refused to let her go, so Sandra gave her the dowry money she'd been saving for emergencies. My money-grubbing mother finally relented, and Sandra was free to leave. The moment she got out, she didn't waste a second, immediately starting her search for the next opportunity. She flirted around under the guise of being single, and eventually set her sights on a middle-aged, single junior manager. After exchanging flirtatious glances for a few days, they finally crossed the last boundary and went to a hotel with a mix of reluctance and willingness. "Mom, something terrible has happened. Is my sister-in-law home?" I asked, my voice filled with disbelief. "She's up making money." "Why?" My mom asked me nonchalantly. "My friend works at a hotel, and she thinks she saw my sister-in-law walking in with a man, and it definitely wasn't my brother," I blurted out in a rush. "Are you sure your friend didn't mistake someone else for her?" My mom still didn't believe me. I swore up and down that it was true, but she just told me to call my brother. "We can't do that. You know how hot-headed my brother is. If things blow up, who's going to take care of Lucian? You should go check it out yourself first, get some proof, then talk to him." I urged my mom to catch her in the act herself. Seeing how convinced I was, my mother couldn't sit still. She asked me for the address, locked Lucian in the house, and went to catch them in the act. They were in such a hurry they didn't even close the hotel room door properly. "Does your husband know you're this wild?" the man said provocatively. "Don't mention him. He's a complete lunatic now. You'd better marry me quickly. I can't stand being with him anymore." My sister-in-law cooed. My mother, who had been eavesdropping through the door crack, was absolutely furious. She burst into the room and immediately started hitting my sister-in-law, furious that her plans had been ruined. My sister-in-law grabbed an ashtray from the nightstand and smashed it against my mother's head. As she hit her, she screamed, "You wretched old hag, you think I'm afraid of you? You hit me every single day in this house. Who do you think you are? You're just asking for it." After she struck her several times with full force, my mother stopped moving. The man beside her was so terrified that he bolted from the room, leaving my sister-in-law sitting there in a daze. The hotel called the police. My sister-in-law was taken away, and my mother died on the spot. When my brother received the news, his face was filled with disbelief. His own wife had actually killed his biological mother. On top of that, there was a son at home who needed daily care, including changing his colostomy bag. My brother had never spent a single day taking care of a child. How could he possibly handle it? That's when he remembered his ever-reliable little sister. When I ignored his calls, he showed up at my former workplace with Lucian, ready to dump the baby on me and make a run for it. Luckily, my mother hadn't given him my new hospital's address, so he came up empty-handed, failing to track me down. He then tried to pawn the child off on my sister-in-law's family, but those people aren't fools who'd willingly take on dead weight. Left with no choice, he had to let Sandra off the hook, dropping criminal charges to settle the matter privately. But Sandra, having done time, wasn't about to be pushed around like before. After her release, Sandra put on a show of obeying my brother's every word, tending to Lucian with meticulous care. Behind our backs, she was plotting how to kill my brother and abandon Lucian. She tampered with my brother's breakfast, lacing it with a heavy dose of sedatives to cause a fatal car crash. My brother miraculously survived after crashing into a guardrail. When that failed, she resorted to smothering him with a pillow while he slept. But how could she ever be a match for my brother? Sandra was kicked to the ground, her head smacking against the cabinet. She froze for a few seconds, as if suddenly remembering something earth-shattering, then dashed into Lucian's nursery, flung open the door, and threw the wailing baby off the balcony. This was the 5th floor. Poor Lucian, still in his sleep, was smashed to a pulp on impact. As she threw him, Sandra muttered, "Die, all of you. Only when everyone's dead can this round restart. Nora got to start over once. Why can't my son and I? It's all her fault." She knew what I was doing was wrong but didn't stop me. She just wanted to watch me fail. She's the real murderer. My brother couldn't make sense of her insane ramblings. Seeing the child thrown from the building, he flew into a rage and beat Sandra within an inch of her life. After Sandra was taken away by the police, he felt a wave of relief, finally free from having to care for that crippled son. Sandra was charged with the brutal murders of 2 people, a heinous crime that led to her prosecution. In the courtroom, she kept fixating on me, screaming for me to die. "You bitch, drop dead already. If you don't die, my son and I can't be reborn. Only your death will give me a chance to turn this around." She screamed hysterically in my direction before the police forced her back into her seat. Apparently she had been reborn, which explained why she threw Lucian overboard in that frenzied state. But when she realized Lucian's death solved nothing, she decided I must be the key. To her rebirth, even attempting to sacrifice me for another chance at rewriting their fate, she miscalculated terribly. The heavens granted her this rebirth not for redemption, but to witness her own damnation unfold before her eyes. I've turned the tables on this round, Sandra, but at the cost of my mother and Lucian's lives, and my brother ended up with his family ruined and loved ones lost after gaining the upper hand. I've been living the high life. Meanwhile, my brother's personality took a dark turn, and he became hooked on gambling. After losing his job and failing to pay off his gambling debts, he was beaten to death with clubs on the street. When I saw this news online, I snorted coldly. Serves him right. Who could save someone so determined to ruin themselves? Story 2. With nowhere else to turn, I took over my grandmother's small restaurant. Little did I know, the restaurant was eerily quiet during the day but turned into a scene straight out of an apocalyptic world at night. Not only was it bitterly cold, with temperatures plunging to -70 or 80 degrees, but it was also overrun with hordes of zombie-like creatures. Just when all hope seemed lost, the door to the restaurant was pushed open. A young girl, dressed in tattered winter clothes and looking utterly exhausted, stepped in. She looked around in amazement at the warm, spring-like atmosphere of the restaurant and timidly asked me, "Is this heaven?" I replied, "This is a restaurant." She swallowed hard and asked, "Do you have anything to eat?" "Even stale bread or crumbled biscuits would do." After thinking for a moment, I pulled out a packet of instant noodles from the cupboard. "How about some pickled cabbage flavor? Would you like some?" The pre-packaged meals that everyone despised in my world became a hot commodity in this frozen apocalypse. "This is heavenly. I haven't tasted anything this delicious in so long," exclaimed the girl. "Even if I were to die after this warm soup, I'd die happy." The energy cores they gave me in return, which I handed over to the government, turned out to be an important energy resource. Not only did I receive a hefty reward, but I also inadvertently became a pillar of the nation. I hid under the cash register, shivering with fear. For 3 days now, each night, my small restaurant and I were transported into this terrifying world. Outside, it was so cold that even breathing formed chunks of ice, and packs of zombies roared menacingly, keeping me from sleeping. After my parents passed away, my relatives swindled me out of my money and kicked me out. My roommate, jealous over a romantic interest, schemed to have me expelled from school. My younger sister, blinded by money, even tried to sell me off when I was at my lowest. That's when I inherited this small restaurant from my grandmother's estate. Over these 3 days, I realized that the bitter cold couldn't penetrate the restaurant. The zombies could howl all they wanted, but they couldn't enter. By day, the restaurant magically returned to the real world. I was scared, but this was the only place I could call home. If I left, I would truly have nowhere to go. As I was pondering, the wind chime at the restaurant's door rang, signaling that the door had been opened. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be a zombie? As I trembled, a timid female voice came from the door. "It's not cold at all here. A living person." I cautiously poked my head out and saw the young girl in tattered winter clothes, looking around the restaurant in wonder. Seeing me, she exclaimed with a look of joy, "Is this heaven?" I hesitated for a moment, then shook my head. "No, this is a restaurant." The girl swallowed hard. "A restaurant? Huh, do you sell any food here? I'll take anything, even stale biscuits or dry bread. I've been hungry for 2 days, having read countless novels." I quickly realized that this young girl might be a survivor of this frozen apocalypse. I hesitated, then pulled out a packet of instant noodles from the cupboard. "Old Tank pickled cabbage flavor. Would you like some?" The girl nodded excitedly. I turned and went into the kitchen, skillfully lighting the stove and boiling water. After cooking the noodles in the water, I drained half of the water and added the seasoning packet. 5 minutes later, the spicy, sour, and salty aroma wafted from the kitchen to the girl's nostrils. She took a deep breath, surprised. She exclaimed, "What is this? It smells so good." I brought the steaming bowl of noodles to the little girl and said with a smile, "This is Old Vat pickled vegetable noodles. The restaurant is a bit simple, and there isn't much to choose from, so I hope this is okay for you." The little girl treasured it like a precious find. She first carefully sipped the soup, then incredulously widened her eyes. "This tastes so good. I've never had soup like this before." The cold I felt outside just vanished with one sip. Then she picked up a chopstick full of noodles and chewed them slowly. After a moment, her eyes widened in amazement. "Oh my gosh, these noodles are delicious. They're sour and spicy, really appetizing." After saying that, she began to devour the noodles. For a while, the small restaurant was filled with the sound of her slurping noodles. My thoughts began to drift away. The small restaurant left by my grandmother is located in a little town. The town has a small population, mostly elderly and children, who are reluctant to spend money on dining out. Moreover, my cooking skills are mediocre. I can only make simple dishes. Therefore, I've been running the restaurant for half a month now. These pickled vegetable noodles were actually my first business transaction, and I might not even get paid for it. After all, what can one expect in an apocalypse? Zombies. The thought alone is frightening. While I was lost in thought, the little girl had quickly finished her noodles, even licking the bowl clean. She burped with immense satisfaction and then blushed. I'm sorry, it was just too delicious. I got a bit too excited. Fairy sister, thank you. Having eaten this bowl of noodles, even if I die at the hands of zombies, I'll die content. I quickly snapped back to reality and waved my hands. Don't talk like that. You need to live well and come back for more. It was a casual, polite remark, but the little girl's eyes suddenly shone brighter than the stars. Really? Fairy sister, will this place still be here in the future? Seeing her gaze, I felt a surge of responsibility. As long as it's here, I will keep it running. The little girl needed to return to her base to complete a mission, and as for my restaurant having the secret ability to travel through time, I dare not let anyone know about it. Who knows what could happen? So, after chatting for a while, I waved goodbye to her. As soon as I sent her off, I regretted it. There were no ingredients left in the restaurant. My grandmother had only left me a little over 1,000 yuan. During this half month, I've bought some rice, eggs, and instant food. The money and ingredients are hardly enough to keep running the restaurant, but thinking of what Luna, the little girl, said, I gritted my teeth. Luna is 16 this year. Since her birth, the world has been a frozen apocalypse. They sustain themselves on nutrient fluids. Food is an incredible luxury for them. The old vat pickled vegetable noodles, disliked by many in our world, might be something she could never taste again in her life. Thinking this, I grit my teeth. I could always get a part-time job to earn some money. I could afford instant noodles. Exhausted, I began clearing the table and saw 3 stones emitting a moonwhite glow. They must have been left by Luna. I wasn't sure if they were meant as payment for the meal. I'll ask her next time she comes. Good news. In the frozen apocalypse, there are very few living people out at night, so I won't go broke quickly. Bad news. I wait for Luna. I waited for 3 days straight. My dark circles got noticeably worse. At 3 a.m. on the 4th day, just as I was yawning and about to go to bed, the wind chimes rang again. Luna's voice, full of excitement, carried in with the cold wind. See, I told you I wasn't lying. This restaurant really does exist. She had a look of bliss on her face. Fairy sister, I'm so glad you're here. My friends didn't believe me. Please let them try the pickled vegetable noodles, she whispered in my ear. They are quite wealthy, carrying a lot of orange and green tier crystal cores. I told them to give them all to you. I looked at the 3 young people following Luna in surprise. They were all around 15 or 16 and one of them said disdainfully to Luna, you're just inexperienced. I've eaten everything good you can think of. My dad is a military commander. He brings me lots of goodies every year. I've even had sausages before, but this restaurant is pretty magical. It feels as warm as spring when you walk in. You must spend a lot of crystal cores on heating, right? Come on, bring out that pickled vegetable noodles now. We're not short on money. With that, they waved their hands, displaying 3 orange glowing stones. I took out the 3 white crystal cores Luna gave me yesterday. Is this what you call a crystal core? Luna nodded. Yes, crystal cores are the hard currency here, not only used for trading but they also contain energy, she said, looking embarrassed. I'm quite poor, only having the lowest white tier crystal cores. Don't mind me, fairy sister. Once I kill more zombies, I'll get higher tier cores and give them all to you. I felt a soft spot in my heart. Thank you, but be sure to stay safe. I then turned to the 3 people by the dining table, 2 men and a woman, all dressed in better protective gear than Luna, probably quite wealthy. I figured out the remaining instant noodles, only 2 packets, definitely not enough, so I said, the restaurant's menu is decided by me daily. Today, it's egg fried rice with ham. Would you like some? Egg fried rice is more filling and costs less. I even generously added a sausage. To my surprise, the taller boy immediately frowned. Luna said the pickled vegetable noodles were delicious. We want that. The shorter boy added, I've had sausage before. It was bitter, astringent, and moldy, tasted like rotten zombie meat. How could anything made from it be tasty? The girl hesitated, then advised, if the owner has set rules, we should follow them. This egg fried rice should taste good too. Since we're here, let's give it a try. I looked emotionlessly at the 2 boys. Honestly, I didn't feel like serving them from the moment they walked in, so I said coldly, if you're not eating, then leave. They slammed the table in anger. What kind of attitude is that? Do you know who my dad is? And you dare talk back? The table shattered with the impact. I immediately regretted it. What if I can't fight them off? Just as they were about to come over and teach me a lesson, they suddenly vanished into thin air. Then, a new Note appeared at the reception. Small restaurant rules. The rules set by the manager are absolute. No one may refuse or harm the manager, otherwise, they will be randomly teleported outside the restaurant to any location. Meanwhile, in a deep, boundless jungle, numerous strange beasts surged. Suddenly, the two boys dropped out of nowhere. The dormant mythical beasts suddenly became restless as soon as the two left. The restaurant quieted down. A few seconds later, Luna looked at me admiringly and exclaimed, "Wow, fairy sister, you are so amazing." I only invited Jocelyn, but they overheard me talking and insisted on coming along. They usually act so high and mighty at the base, I didn't dare refuse them. Sorry for the mess they made at your table. Feeling guilty, I found it hard to blame her. I then turned and asked, "Would you like some egg fried rice with ham?" Luna immediately responded, "Yes." I trust fairy sister's cooking skills. I smiled, turned around, and headed into the kitchen. Back when I was dependent on others, my aunts never left any food for me. As a result, my skills at making fried rice are top-notch. I heated the oil, cracked 2 eggs into the pan, scrambled them, and added a pinch of salt for flavor. Then I added the ham, frying it until it darkened before tossing in the leftover cold rice from the afternoon. After stirring the rice well, I sequentially added oyster sauce and more salt. When it was ready to serve, I sprinkled a handful of green onions on top. The rice grains were distinct, the eggs golden and enticing, and the ham deliciously fragrant. The combination of these 3 ingredients emitted an irresistible aroma under the glossy sheen of oil. I served them each a full bowl using a soup bowl. "The food's ready, come and get it," I announced. As soon as I finished speaking, Luna leapt up excitedly. "Yay, I could smell it while you were cooking. It smells even better than the sauerkraut noodles from yesterday." Jocelyn, who was initially more reserved, now gazed at the bowl of fried rice with sparkling eyes. "What is this? It smells so good. Just the smell is making me drool. Are you really going to let us eat all this?" I smiled and said, "Go ahead, it's all yours." With my approval, they started eating eagerly, almost burying their heads into their bowls. In the narrow restaurant, all that could be heard were their swallowing sounds. A few minutes later, they stopped. Sighing with satisfaction, I glanced at them. Even the oil at the bottom of the bowls was licked clean. I've lived for 15 years, and this is the first time I've tasted something so delicious. The rice is so soft, and the eggs so tender, even better than yesterday's sauerkraut noodles. They say the ham is like rotten zombie meat, but the ham fairy sister cooked is so fragrant and tender, I could almost swallow my tongue. This kind of divine delicacy, and we got to eat a whole bowl of it. Feels like a lifetime's worth. They were getting more and more extravagant with their praise. I quickly, with a laugh and a cry, interrupted them. "All right, it's getting late. My little shop closes at 7 in the morning. You should hurry on your way." They thanked me profusely, looking at me as if I were a savior. As they left, they even gave me 5 white crystal cores in addition to the 3 orange ones left by the 2 guys from earlier. The next day, I slept until noon. After getting up, recalling how they had heartily enjoyed their meal, I made myself a bowl of egg fried rice. Eating, I considered the remaining ingredients. There were still 6 eggs and about 5 kilograms of rice left. I'm down to just 2 packets of instant noodles, 4 sausages, and some vegetables, with barely over 300 yuan left in my account. At this rate, I can't even sustain myself, let alone keep my small diner running. The burst of ambition I felt last night to save the world has suddenly deflated. I must find a part-time job in the city. Fortunately, the city isn't far from this small town. There's an old bicycle at the restaurant. Panting, I rode for an hour and finally reached the city. After checking with 3 recruitment agencies, my hopes were dashed. Jobs are hard to come by. My schedule doesn't allow for a regular 9-to-5 job. I want to keep my shop open till the end of these icy days, and I can't work night shifts. Just as I was feeling down, a Mercedes suddenly stopped in front of me. The window rolled down to reveal a face with immaculate makeup. Stella, looking for a job. She glanced at the recruitment building behind me and sneered. "Didn't find one. How about you bark like a dog, and I'll let you clean at my company." Before she could finish, the guy in the passenger seat said impatiently, "Don't bother with this loser, let's go." Seeing them sparked a fire in me. One was my roommate Scarlett, the other my childhood friend Blake. Because I was close to Blake, Scarlett, who liked him, got enraged and used her family's influence to falsely accuse me, resulting in my expulsion from school. I pleaded with Blake, "Remember when you were bullied as a kid, and I helped you? Please ask Scarlett to let me be. After all, my situation was dire and education was my only way out." Blake disdainfully replied, "What's it to me? I never asked for your help. Besides, you always cling to me. Talking to someone broke and ordinary like you is bad luck." I didn't want to deal with them anymore. I got up to leave, but Scarlett insisted on making things difficult for me. She drove her car towards me, trying to scare me, but before her car got close, a flash of white light from my pocket caused her car's front to crumple instantly. We were all stunned by the scene. Seconds later, Scarlett furiously called the police. At the station, after repeatedly watching the surveillance footage, the chief concluded, "Your car's damage has nothing to do with this young lady." He then sent Scarlett and Blake away. As they left, they bitterly warned me, "This isn't over, you better hope you don't run into us again." After thanking the chief, I was about to leave when he led me to a small room and said calmly, "Don't worry, I called you here to see what's in your pocket." I clenched my face, gripping the crystal nucleus tightly. He immediately said, "After watching the footage, I noticed a flash of white light from your pocket. I know there are many unknown things in this world yet to be discovered. If you're willing to hand it over, I assure you, you won't be implicated, and all research will be conducted with your consent." Okay. After some hesitation, I eventually took out the crystal nucleus. However, I only handed over the white one, keeping the 3 orange ones for myself. The chief observed it for a while but couldn't make heads or tails of it. He then said, "I'll send this to the research institute. Maybe they can figure out what kind of energy it contains. Is that okay?" "Okay." After exchanging contact information with me, the sheriff walked me out. "My name is Vince. I'll contact you once the results from the lab are in." "Okay." I then pedaled my old bike noisily back home. At 7 in the evening, a flash outside the store transported me back to the frozen apocalypse world. I stared at the deserted road. The chilling temperatures of the apocalyptic nights made traveling difficult, so there were very few survivors. However, the slow business was a blessing in disguise, as I barely had enough money for ingredients. Outside was bitterly cold, but for some reason, inside was as warm as spring. While I dozed off under the dim light, the wind chime rang. I thought it was Luna and was about to greet her with a warm smile when 4 men, breathing heavily, stepped inside. "A restaurant, that's an old-fashioned name. You must have some nutrient solutions or food, right?" Random dishes. "Never mind, anything will do. My brother can't hold on much longer." He choked up as he spoke. I then noticed one of them was carrying a man covered in scars. Feeling the warmth, he barely lifted his head, his face showing faint surprise. "To think it's a restaurant, something from before the apocalypse. I never thought I'd see one again, even without food. I can die without regrets." "Jason, what nonsense are you talking about? We just need to get you back to the base, a shot of antibiotics, and you'll be fine. You must hold on, forget it. The apocalypse has been here for over 20 years. I can't keep going. It might be better to die." Hoping that down below, I can have one more bowl of my mom's hot Yangchen noodles. "As long as you're alive, you can definitely have Yangchen noodles." 5 tall men, nearly 6 feet 3 inches each, couldn't help but have their eyes well up and their voices choke. I timidly offered, I can make Yangchen noodles too. Would you like some?" Luckily, I had bought some noodles on my trip to the city today, just in time to be useful. Jason smiled at me kindly. "Thank you, young lady, but it's been over 20 years since the apocalypse began, let alone Yangchen noodles. Even edible food is scarce. I know you mean well to encourage me, but..." Seeing him struggling to breathe, I cut him off. "Wait here." I then lifted the curtain and entered the kitchen. I moved swiftly to boil water and cook the noodles. While waiting, I took out 5 large bowls. I added a small spoonful of lard, soy sauce, dark soy sauce, oyster sauce, and salt, one by one. Once the noodle water boiled, I swirled it in the bowls. The aroma of lard wafted up warmly. After the noodles were cooked, I evenly divided them into the 5 bowls. The plump noodles gleamed golden as they swirled in the lard soup. Taking advantage of the boiling water, I blanched a couple of handfuls of greens I had picked. After a moment of thought, I heated some oil in a pan and fried an egg to place in one of the bowls. All this took just over 10 minutes. I first brought out the bowl with the fried egg. "Here, the Yangchen noodles you wanted. They might not taste exactly like your mother's, but they should be pretty good." When the noodles were served, everyone was stunned. Jason was the first to snap back to reality, rubbing his eyes in disbelief, and stuttered, "These are really noodles, actual noodles, and they have eggs that aren't rotten or moldy. My God, how many years has it been since I've seen such fresh, steaming plain noodles? Am I dreaming?" "Owner, can we really eat this?" The others swallowed hard with excitement. Though no one else spoke, I could read the same astonishment in their eyes. I chuckled. "Of course, you can eat it." Jason picked up his chopsticks half in doubt, his mind racing with numerous guesses. Either this was a hallucination before his death, or he had witnessed a miracle. How else could you explain such fresh food in a dilapidated urban area with fewer zombies than elsewhere? But after his first bite, he was convinced this was indeed a miracle, because these plain noodles tasted even better than he imagined. Jason took it quite well. After all, with the apocalypse upon us, what couldn't be possible? He began to slurp the noodles voraciously. Meanwhile, the other four gulped down their saliva. It took him 3 big mouthfuls before he remembered his brothers, and by then, only a third of the bowl was left. Jason awkwardly pushed the bowl forward. Sorry, I ate too quickly. It's been too long since I've had such delicious plain noodles. Please share what's left. It's okay. How does it taste? Is it really noodles, like the ones before the apocalypse? Really, they taste better than any plain noodles I've ever had. The noodles are soft yet springy, and the soup is exceptionally tasty. Then I'll just have some soup. Seeing their eager faces, I immediately interjected, Hey, don't rush. There's enough for everyone. I'll get more for you. They looked at each other in disbelief. Such delicious and precious noodles. Do we really all get some? Owner, are you some kind of fairy? 5 minutes later, there were 5 clean bowls on the table, licked so clean not a drop of soup remained. They felt embarrassed only after they had finished. They pulled out crystal nuclei, 4 red, 3 orange, and even 1 yellow. I accepted them all with a smile. They hoisted Jason onto their backs again. As they were leaving, Jason suddenly turned back and asked me, Owner, will I be able to eat your noodles again? Thinking about his earlier resignation, I paused while wiping the table, then smiled warmly. You will, as long as you stay alive. Come back and try something different next time. The 5 tall men were moved to tears. Don't worry, I will make it back to the base to get antibiotics. I always felt like there was no end in sight to this apocalypse. It might be okay for children born into it, but for us who experienced the world before, sometimes it feels like living now is worse than death. But your restaurant has given us a new reason to live. Next time, we'll bring more brothers to taste this heavenly delight. I was deeply touched. It's a promise. After seeing them off, I turned around to reveal a mask of agony on my face. 5 burly men had managed to devour a week's worth of my groceries in just 1 meal. For the following days, I tightened my belt, relieved that no other guests arrived. Staring at my dwindling bank balance, I sighed heavily. I cursed my own excessive sympathy. But seeing their pitiful state, I couldn't bear to turn them away. After all, what was so wrong about wanting a meal? The things our world rejects could be the very things that give them the strength to survive. But, oh, how I craved fried chicken, hot pot, barbecue, and desserts. I tossed and turned in bed, restless and anxious. Just then, my $800 smartphone rang. It was Officer Vince calling. Hello, I answered. Miss, the results from the Scientific Research Institute are in. Are you available? I'll come to pick you up, said Officer Vince. Officer Vince drove me to the police station in his squad car. 2 men in white shirts greeted us warmly. Miss, hello, we are researchers from the National Science Institute. They introduced themselves straightforwardly. Thanks to you, we've discovered immense energy within that crystal. If we can extract it, it could greatly advance our country's scientific endeavors and even humanity as a whole. Their enthusiasm was palpable. I was flattered and a bit overwhelmed. Really, these crystals, or rather, these cores, are that powerful? Absolutely, they nodded vigorously. Due to the confidential nature of the project, we can't say much, but just to give you an idea, you know our country's maritime defenses aren't as strong as those of Cherry Blossom Country or Little Rice Country, right? Yes, if we could harness this energy for our warships and artillery, our military strength could increase by at least 5-fold. Their eyes blazed with fervor as they grasped my hands. This is all thanks to you. Where did you get these crystals? Do you have more? I do, but may I keep the source confidential? Their enthusiasm dimmed slightly at my request, but hearing that there were more crystals, they quickly regained their spirits. Since it was for the glory of our nation, I felt duty-bound to cooperate. I handed over the remaining cores I had saved. These red and orange ones seemed to contain even more energy. I noted. Their eyes lit up. Thank you. After receiving the cores, they pulled out a check from a folder. Here's $100,000 from the state and the Science Institute as a reward. If you continue to supply us with crystals, there will be more rewards. Also, let us know if you have any other requests. I actually did have a request. My parents left me a house that was taken over by relatives. I'd like to get it back, but if that's not possible, no worries. I'll save up and hire a lawyer to handle it later. No problem, we'll take care of it. Leaving the police station, I excitedly made my way to the bank with the check in hand. The line was long, and after waiting 2 hours, it was finally my turn. Just as I was about to sit down, someone beat me to the seat and provocatively raised an eyebrow at me. It's you again, Stella. Why do you keep haunting this place? I looked down and my face darkened with irritation. I ran into Scarlett again. Don't jump the queue, she told me. Scarlett looked me up and down. So what? I'm a diamond customer at the bank. What are you? Herefore, poor thing, to get a loan, I frowned, not bothering to engage with her, and handed my check and bank card to the teller. Hello, could you please process this? Scarlett scoffed, handing over her own bank card, a black card. The staff picked up her card first, apologizing to me. Sorry, she has a black card, which comes with priority service. However, as soon as they noticed the seal on my check, their expression changed dramatically. Miss, please follow me to the lounge. I'll have a specialist assist you with the exchange. A customer manager was immediately summoned. After hearing what had happened, the manager greeted me with a flattering smile and ushered me into the lounge. Scarlett, left behind, was furious. What's going on? I'm a diamond customer and I've never seen you treat me with such eagerness. Am I less important than this poor soul? The staff whispered. Miss, the check has the seal of the National Administration. Even our bank president would have to treat it with the utmost respect. Scarlett's face darkened even more, and she left without withdrawing her money, cursing as she went. With the money in hand, I suddenly felt a rush of newfound wealth. I finally had money. All the treats I craved, like cake, fried chicken, and barbecue, were now within reach. I immediately took a taxi to Sam's Club in the downtown area and splurged $260 on a membership card. Then I went on a shopping spree, buying durian mochi, Swiss rolls, tiramisu, roast chicken, fried chicken, cherries, strawberries. Considering my limited cooking skills, I also picked up several ready-made meals and ingredient kits. After arranging for same-day delivery, I rushed to another grocery store to buy meat, eggs, vegetables, and spices. Remembering how the restaurant furniture was damaged, I ordered a few new sets of tables, chairs, lamps, and curtains. I even bought some new kitchen utensils. I spent $20,000 just like that, which made me a bit sad, but then I remembered what the scientists said: as long as I keep providing crystal cores, there would be more rewards. Since the energy from the crystal cores could be used for research and military purposes, I wanted to contribute to the country. It looked like I needed to expand my business, or else I'd be waiting forever for a customer. I hitched a ride back home with the furniture store's delivery truck. After setting everything up, it was nearly 7 p.m. I quickly heated up a convenience store meal, but before I could finish, the scene outside suddenly changed. The roar of zombies came through. I calmly continued eating. Since I had noticed that the zombies seemed oblivious to the restaurant's presence, I wasn't afraid at all. In fact, I even enjoyed the thrill. It was like watching a 7D apocalypse movie. A few zombies lingered outside the restaurant. Even though I knew they wouldn't come in, it was still a bit unsettling. Just as I was thinking this, they suddenly howled and rushed towards the road, only to be incinerated by 2 bursts of fire. I was stunned. Wow, was that a special ability? It was shocking. Then, about a dozen people emerged from behind the flames. They were tall, dressed in neat cold weather gear, and wore relaxed smiles as they walked into the restaurant, chatting and laughing. Boss, this is the restaurant I was talking about. I didn't expect it to still be open. Hey there, owner, good evening, remember us? As I looked up, I saw familiar faces. Jason among them. Behind them trailed 8 men dressed uniformly. A party of 13 suddenly filled the restaurant with life. So many customers, I couldn't help but smile. Of course, I remember. How's your injury? Jason scratched the back of his head, slightly embarrassed. I was bitten by a zombie, barely made it back to base for antibiotics. Your noodles gave me the strength I needed. When I got back, I told my squad how delicious your simple noodles were, but they didn't believe me. I thought since we had a night mission today, it'd be a good chance to show them what they're missing. The robust men entered the restaurant, their eyes wide as they looked around. Damn, Jason, we thought you were hallucinating from your severe injuries, but there actually is a restaurant. Look, what's that on the cashier counter? Rice. Damn, are those lunch boxes with curry chicken cutlets? I'm drooling already. We thought the simple noodles were the limit, but the owner's even eating curry chicken rice. It's minus 70 degrees outside, and yet there's not a hint of cold air here. The lights are so bright, and the heating so strong. How much energy must that cost? The men began to chat animatedly. All right, stop standing around. Let's sit down and not disrupt the owner's business. A stern voice cut through the chatter. Everyone immediately quieted down and efficiently took their seats. I instinctively followed the voice and saw a man nearly 9 meters tall, dressed in a black cold-weather jacket, with a faint scar on his chin. Looking quite formidable, even more charismatic than many movie stars. He seemed to be around 25 or 26 but was clearly the leader of the group. The man introduced himself. I'm Luke, a colonel from Himshan Base's military. Just serve the food as usual. He then pulled out 2 energy cores from his pocket. This is for the meal. We are many, so please excuse us. Luke's demeanor was neither servile nor arrogant. Despite his initial surprise upon entering, he remained composed. Blue rank energy cores, boss, these could be exchanged for a week's supply of nutrient solution. Wait till you try the owner's cooking, then you'll see how worthwhile these 2 blue rank cores are. It's a taste of heaven that money can't buy. I cheerfully accepted the energy cores. Given his generosity, I was determined to prepare a meal that justified the price. Luckily, I had bought plenty of ingredients today. All right, just wait. In the kitchen, I surveyed the ingredients and decided to make a hot pot. I took out 2 large pots, heated the oil, and then added spices like green onions, ginger, garlic, and chili peppers, frying them until fragrant. Next, I added the hot pot base and stirred it, then mixed in water and covered the pot. As the base began to boil, I washed various vegetables and placed them in baskets, unpacked tripe and beef rolls onto plates, and washed a couple of basins filled with different hot pot balls. Finally, I prepared the dipping sauces in disposable bowls. While I was busy in the kitchen, whispers occasionally reached my ears from outside. Boss, why offer 2 blue rank cores? Level 8 zombies are rare, and you don't have many, do you? Luke looked around the modest restaurant, pondering. Surrounded by zombies, none dared to attack the restaurant, which spoke volumes about the owner's formidable strength. The fact that Jason and his friends enjoyed a spring noodle meal before, and the owner recently had a bento, suggested she had abundant supplies. Despite the simple decor, the furniture was new, and the warmth inside felt like spring, all maintained by significant paranormal abilities and a wealth of energy crystals. I suspect her parents might have powerful space-related abilities and had stockpiled a lot of food before the apocalypse. Her willingness to share these resources shows her kindness. Such a person is definitely worth befriending. Everyone was stunned by the insights. Boss, how can you deduce so much from just a few sentences? No wonder you made Colonel at 25. Wait, what's that smell? It smells amazing. The base of the pot was ready, the aroma of beef and chili wafted outside. Gurgle, gurgle. Luke, who had been analyzing the situation calmly, paused slightly. His stomach, embarrassingly, growled out loud. Fortunately, everyone else's stomachs were even louder. He glanced awkwardly towards the kitchen, unbeknownst to him. His eyes were filled with immense longing. I combined the 4 tables in the restaurant and brought out 2 induction cookers. Then, under their eager and excited gazes, I brought out the hot pot bases and dishes one by one. One is a buttery broth, and the other is a tomato broth. Cook whatever you like. With each dish I brought out, their exclamations grew louder and more enthusiastic. Holy crap, is this hot pot? To think I get to eat hot pot in my lifetime. My God, it's meat, real meat. I thought I'd be satisfied with just a bowl of steaming noodles, but here we are not only having hot pot but also so many dishes. Instantly, the restaurant was filled with the sounds of gasping and swallowing. 2 minutes later, as I finished setting the dishes on the table, I said, "Eat up." No sooner had I spoken than they surged forward like floodwaters released from a dam, quickly and efficiently starting to cook their food, in a frenzy more intense than fighting zombies. My God, I never thought I'd get to eat tripe and beef in the apocalypse. This tender texture is way better than any hot pot I've had before, even. The potatoes are so soft and smooth, they're delicious enough to make me want to swallow my tongue. I could drink 3 big bowls of this hot pot broth. In this cold apocalypse, having this hot pot meal feels like it could boost my morale to hunt 100 zombies tomorrow. It's so delicious. I wish the apocalypse had never happened so everyone could enjoy this tasty hot pot. As everyone spoke, there was a mix of emotion and a hint of tears. Luke kept his head down and focused on eating. Hearing this, his eyes also reddened. Before the apocalypse started, he was only 3 years old. His memory of these foods was quite distant to him. As long as he was full, it didn't matter whether it was energy or food, but this hot pot completely changed his mind. Nothing, absolutely nothing, was more important or delicious than food. While they feasted heartily, I spent another 2 minutes whipping up a large pot of fried rice for them. The grains were distinct and golden, fragrant with oil, perfectly complemented by the spicy, piping hot meat and vegetables. It was an unbeatable combination. My fried rice earned rave reviews once again. They were practically seeing stars as they ate, and towards the end, all you could hear were joyful exclamations of delicious, so blissful. Amidst the furious sounds of chewing, they devoured a whole table full of dishes like a whirlwind, cleaning everything up within half an hour. Everyone sat back, patting their slightly bulging bellies, tears of happiness in their eyes. After eating their fill, they scratched their heads somewhat sheepishly. Sorry, boss, it was just too tasty. It's been 20 years since the apocalypse, and this is the first time we've had such delicious food. We couldn't help going wild. We're not usually like this. No worries, I understand. Boss, I'll give you these 2 green tier crystal cores as thanks for letting me enjoy a hot pot in my lifetime. It was worth it. I've been a bit lazy in hunting zombies Lately, only got 3 yellow cores, but I'll definitely try harder tomorrow. Will your restaurant still be open? Seeing their hopeful eyes, I nodded. Of course, crystal cores are valuable, and I plan to earn more. They thought I needed a lot of crystal cores to keep the restaurant running and nodded understandingly. At first, I thought giving 2 blue-tier crystal cores might have been too much, but now, everyone unanimously agreed. The owner is like a living Buddha, rescuing us from suffering. As long as there are zombies and mutant monsters, crystal cores are inexhaustible. Since the boss needs them, they'd definitely go out and fight zombies to collect crystal cores, just to have a taste of such hot food again. After they finished eating, they rushed to clean the table and wash dishes. I then turned to Luke. Are you their leader? You could say that, Luke replied. After all, he was the core of the group, and everyone generally followed his lead. I asked further, so what's your standing like at your base? Luke thought for a moment. It's good. I have a significant say. In fact, besides the base leader and a couple of others, he had the most influence. I nodded. How many people are at your base now? What do you eat? What's the survival mode like? How are crystal cores valued? Luke didn't mind my questions. He explained each point and even started to educate me on the rules of this new world. Our base has about 300,000 people, quite a large one. Since the apocalypse, we've gradually established a home, using the energy from crystal cores to develop special abilities and strengthen ourselves. Although we can't use electricity due to the cold wave, the energy contained in the crystal cores has replaced it in oil. However, the apocalypse has changed the soil and flora and fauna, so we haven't yet been able to cultivate vegetables and meat that can adapt to the new conditions. Fortunately, we rely on energy liquid to satiate our hunger and maintain bodily functions. Crystal cores have 10 levels, with white being the lowest and gold the highest. As I listened, I nodded. Once he finished speaking, I carefully broached my idea. I'm in need of crystal cores and would like to make a deal with your base. I'll provide food, and you provide crystal cores. We can negotiate the pricing. What do you think? This idea had been on my mind since I returned in the afternoon. Waiting for people to come by every day was simply too slow, especially since it's so dangerous to go out at night during the apocalypse. In this particular area, the idea of opening a restaurant seems almost foolhardy, as most ordinary people would be too intimidated to step foot inside. Why not collaborate with the base? Suggested Luke, his eyes lighting up at the thought. Our base has 300,000 people. Can you supply enough food for all of us? I think so, was the response. If you're sure it's feasible, then I'll discuss it with our leader. I believe he'd be very enthusiastic about it. If it weren't for the fact that he was only a colonel, he would have agreed on the spot. After all, anyone who has tasted the hot pot meal we had today would find it impossible to go back to those bland nutrient solutions. Upon hearing this news, everyone else in the restaurant became visibly excited. The entire place was filled with an atmosphere of joy and happiness. Just then, the door of the restaurant opened again. Luna paused in surprise and asked, "Why are there so many people? What's the occasion?" Everyone seems so happy. Seeing her, I greeted her with a warm smile. "Long time no see." Luna, a bit embarrassed, chuckled. "It's too dangerous to venture out at night, and I only dared to come because I tagged along with a team from the base on a night mission. Besides, I'm broke. Even if I wanted to come every day, I would be too embarrassed to." Curiously, she looked at the table and exclaimed, "Fairy sister, what are we having today? I can smell something delicious. It smells like fried rice with eggs. Your nose is too sharp, but you're a bit late. We've finished the dishes." Luna looked disappointed. Suddenly, an idea struck me. I remembered the desserts I had bought earlier. "However, I've got something else. Just wait, I'll get it for you to try. You're going to love it." After all, which girl could resist desserts, especially durian mochi? Hearing this, the burly men around also looked over curiously. I took out 2 pieces of durian mochi from the fridge and handed one to her. "Try this." Luna carefully held the wrapper. Afraid of getting the mochi dirty, she examined it and murmured, "What's this? It's so soft, and it has a strange smell. It's a bit off-putting, but also kind of fragrant." One of the onlookers commented, "This looks like a dessert. My wife used to love these." "Is that durian?" "Yes, that's durian. My daughter loves it. She can eat 2 or 3 pieces at a time." "It seems like you girls all like this kind of thing." Upon hearing this, Luna took a tentative bite. Immediately, the rich, sweet taste of durian filled her mouth. She smacked her lips and her eyes lit up with delight. "This is so tasty. It melts in your mouth. So soft and sweet. It's sweet right to the core." She finished 1 piece almost instantly. Holding the other, she kept turning it in her hand, reluctant to eat it. I asked her, "What's wrong?" Luna looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tears. "Fairy sister, I want to ask you for a favor. Don't worry, I've saved up a lot of crystal cores to give you. What is it? I asked. Luna hesitated. It's my mother's 42nd birthday in a couple of days. She keeps saying she might die in a zombie wave any day now and often reminisces about life before the apocalypse, although I don't really know what life was like before the apocalypse. The food here heals the heart. I was thinking of buying some food from you to take back for my mom to try, to give her an unforgettable birthday. After hearing her words, I couldn't help but smile. This is a restaurant, of course you can take out. Luna smiled too. That's great. My mom will be so happy if she gets to taste these delicacies. I told her about the great food here before, but she didn't believe me, thinking I hadn't seen much of the world or tasted good things. Today, I'll take this durian mochi back for her to try. Hearing her, an idea struck me. My business has been slow because it's not well known. Nobody knows it exists. If I could get the word out, let everyone know that this restaurant is here for real, then perhaps people would start coming on their own. With that thought, I asked Luna, is your base far from here? Is it difficult to travel here at night? Seeing that she always comes alone, it shouldn't be too hard for her. It's not far, just 3 kilometers away. What if I say I'd like to throw a birthday party for your mom? You could invite all your friends and family, the more the merrier. I'd charge only 10 white crystal cores per person. What do you think? Luna's eyes widened in surprise. Her joyful smile almost spilled out of her eyes. Really, any amount of crystal cores is fine. They are quite wealthy. I'm just worried that it might be too crowded for you to handle. No worries. I'll prepare the food. You just help me clean up and do the dishes. Great. I'll go back and tell them right away, Luna said, bowing deeply to me, then carefully walked away holding the durian mochi. I watched her leave, turning around. I met 13 pairs of eager eyes. I was puzzled. What's up? Jason said. Owner, you are too kind and generous. Can we join the birthday party the day after tomorrow? We'll pay not just 10, but 100 white crystal cores if needed. I was somewhat speechless. Why would you join in her mom's birthday celebration? Jason replied, all humans are one big family. Owner, we promise not to cause trouble and will also ensure their safety. After thinking it over, I reluctantly agreed. Since it's her birthday, how about this? I prepare one round of food, and you prepare another. How does that sound? Thank you, Owner. It was already cleared by Luke and his team. Besides, if there really were zombies, you 2 kids wouldn't have made it here alive. Now, tell me, what are you really after? Actually, I wasn't originally so harsh towards children. It's just that the way you lived just now suddenly reminded me of Yuki, the sister I scrimped and saved to raise. Yet, she tried to drug me and hand me over to an old man for 20,000 from my aunt. When I found out, she even had the audacity to argue, with his wealth, your life would be much better with him. Sister, I was doing it for your sake. Seeing my expression turn colder, the 2 kids immediately knelt down with a thud, begging through sobs and tears. Sorry, sister, we didn't mean to deceive you. We are just too hungry. I frowned. Where are your parents? Children who can survive and grow up to 8 or 9 years old after the apocalypse usually have strong parents. The little girl cried even harder. Our dad was clearing zombies in this area a few days ago. They thought it would be an easy task and wanted to train us, so they brought us along. But there was a traitor at the base who hid the fact that there was a level 9 mega zombie here. They used all their strength to get us out, but they died inside. The girl sobbed more intensely. I was somewhat moved, but still had to maintain my principles. That doesn't justify you deceiving me. The girl wiped her tears and said, I know it's wrong to lie, but we've been hiding around this area, afraid to go back to the base, and haven't eaten for 3 days. We watched you for a long time, saw that you were kind and gentle, and thought we'd try our luck. Please, sister, don't kill us. We'll do anything to make up for our mistake. The little boy also hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry, I really know I was wrong. We'll do anything you ask. Just please don't kill us. I still want to go back to the base and avenge my dad. With that, his eyes reddened. I kept a stern face and said, even if I don't kill you, you have no food or energy cores. How will you survive and avenge your dad? Do you have some powerful abilities? The little girl quickly said, his ability is really powerful. It's of the lightning type, and it's already level 3. The low-level zombies we encountered near the restaurant these past few days were all defeated by him, but we didn't dare to harvest the cores. I became interested. Oh, how old are you? The little boy puffed up proudly. 8 years old. Then he wilted again, weakly pleading, beautiful sister, could you please credit us some food? We'll find energy cores to pay you back tomorrow. I stroked my chin. Although I'm not very familiar with the ability system, seeing them like this, they must be quite capable, and while I don't need protection, their slaying zombies near the restaurant indirectly protected me too. The restaurant hasn't yet activated its passive skill to expose them. At least these kids mean me no harm, they just don't want to starve or let their father's death be in vain. They're capable, articulate, smart, scared of dying, and have a conscience, just young and misguided. Since I run the restaurant alone at night and it gets a bit boring, and it can get overwhelming when it's busy, considering this, I told them. Although I accept your explanation, you still tried to deceive me. Here's what we'll do, let's just forget about the debt, I suggested. You can work for me at the restaurant in the evenings, and fend for yourselves during the day. I'll provide all your meals. How does that sound? After hearing my proposal, the two exchanged glances before bowing deeply in gratitude. Thank you so much, beautiful sister. We'll work hard to make up for our mistakes. We're really grateful for the food you're offering us. I went to the kitchen and brought back 2 large loaves of bread. After a moment's thought, I dusted them with some cocoa powder and handed them over, saying, I've added poison to these. I have the antidote with me. If you ever deceive or betray me again, you won't get the antidote, and you won't be able to seek revenge. They looked terrified and quickly assured me, we wouldn't dare, we absolutely wouldn't dare. Go ahead, eat, as long as you obey. I'll give you the antidote on time, I said, pushing the bread toward them. They accepted it as if resigned to their fate, closed their eyes, steeled their hearts, and took a bite. What is this? It's so soft, it practically melts in your mouth without even needing to chew. It looks so big, but it's not hard at all and smells amazing. Just one bite makes my mouth water like crazy. It's delicious. No wonder everyone who leaves here looks so happy, even if it's poisoned. I'd want to eat this every day. They devoured the bread in no time, with the little boy even sneakily licking his fingers. Pleased, I clapped my hands and said, now that you've eaten my bread, you belong to me. I'm Stella. What are your names? The little boy replied, I'm Ethan. The little girl said, I'm Mia. I then gave them a brief tour of the restaurant. You'll work from 7 in the evening to 7 in the morning. Your main tasks will be serving dishes, tidying the hall, and washing dishes. I pointed to the serving area. This is where you'll serve the dishes. Then, showing them a small space of about 2 square meters that I had partitioned off with a curtain, I continued, this is the dishwashing area. Put the used dishes and utensils here, clean them, and stack them on the shelves. I'll fetch them from the kitchen when needed. You're not allowed in the kitchen, there are cameras, and if I catch you, there'll be no antidote, understand? They nodded vigorously. We understand, beautiful sister, I smiled. Each morning at 5, I'll give you breakfast, and at 7, I'll provide food for the day which you can take with you. After the restaurant opens at 7 in the evening, I'll serve you dinner. When the restaurant is empty, you can rest or sleep on any table. I won't mind. Okay, thank you, beautiful sister, they responded. Any questions? I asked. Ethan timidly raised his hand. Beautiful sister, if I fight zombies and find crystal cores, can I give you money to buy food? Of course, you can, I replied. Their faces lit up with happy smiles. Thank you, beautiful sister. After finishing the instructions, I returned to the front desk and settled down. The kids looked around the restaurant curiously. Mia commented, it's so warm here, even warmer than I imagined. Ethan, still savoring the memory of the bread, said, that bread was so delicious. I swear it's the tastiest thing I've ever eaten. Beautiful sister said she'd provide us with 3 meals a day. Does that mean we'll always get to eat such delicious bread? Mia rolled her eyes at him. What are you thinking about? Our beautiful sister has been so kind to us, giving us delicious meals. It's more than we could ever hope for. She's truly wonderful, providing us with a warm place free of zombies. She might ask us to work, but she's also given us shelter and 3 meals a day, 3 whole meals. She and this restaurant both bring warmth and happiness to our lives. Mia spoke, her little head nodding off bit by bit. Seeing this, Ethan patted her head. These past few days have been exhausting with all the hiding and running. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on the shop, you get some rest. On hearing this, Mia grumbled, later, wake me up, and I'll take over so you can sleep, just like before. Then she closed her eyes and slept quietly. Ethan sat up straight, vigilantly watching the entrance, worried about missing any customers. I couldn't help but smile at the scene. You should sleep too. If any customers come, the wind chimes at the door will ring. I didn't get out of bed until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, but I wasn't sleepy. There were no guests anyway, and seeing how exhausted they were, letting them sleep a bit longer was no harm. Ethan expressed his gratitude to me with a heartfelt thanks. He too fell asleep with his head down on the table. At 5 in the morning, the enticing aroma from the kitchen woke them up. Initially, they rubbed their eyes in confusion, then, their eyes suddenly widened in shock as they looked at the swinging pendulum of the wall clock. Oh, beautiful sister, I'm so sorry we slept so long. Damn it, it's just that your place is so warm and safe. We haven't had a good sleep in so long. We didn't mean to slack off. Sorry, sister. I poked my head out from the kitchen holding chopsticks. Don't worry about it. We didn't have any customers last night anyway. Just wait a few more minutes. Breakfast will be ready soon. After saying that, I went back into the kitchen, feeling lazy in the morning. I opened 5 packets of old hen noodle soup. After boiling a large pot of water, I cooked the noodles and then dumped all the seasoning in. Then I poached 3 eggs in it. Soon enough, a bowl of golden, sticky, aromatic old hen soup noodles was freshly served. While I was cooking the noodles, Mia and Ethan quickly tidied up the table. As soon as I brought the noodles to the serving window, they eagerly came forward to serve themselves. What is this? Their eyes nearly popped out as they swallowed and stared at the bowl of noodles. I came out of the kitchen with my bowl and answered, old hen soup noodles. The broth is slowly simmered from an old hen, the golden parts are the noodles, and the round ones are poached eggs. Stop looking, eat up. They could hardly listen to me. At my signal, they began to devour the meal. They were still not very adept with chopsticks, but their instinct to eat helped them adapt quickly and they soon got the hang of it. Mia picked up a poached egg and gently bit into it. The yolk and white melted in her mouth. Her eyes, wide like a deer's, instantly rounded. It's so tender and soft, it disappeared the moment I ate it, but the taste lingers and it's so delicious. Compared to her delicate demeanor, Ethan was much wilder, almost burying his head in the bowl, slurping the noodles and sipping the soup, occasionally making glug-glug sounds. A few minutes later, he patted his round belly, sighing with satisfaction. It's so delicious, the soup is salty and spicy, and the noodles are so good. I've only read about such delicacies in books left by adults, thought. They were fictitious, but real gourmet food does exist. Mia nodded vigorously in agreement. Right, the noodles are so filling, and a sip of the soup warms up my whole body, 1,000,000 times better than nutrient solutions. My favorite is this poached egg, so soft and sweet, it feels like even my dreams will be sweet after eating it. As she spoke, her eyes gradually reddened, and she choked up. If only Dad were still here. He always talked about life before the apocalypse. He would have been so happy to see this food. Ethan comforted her. Don't be sad. Once we avenge Dad and take back our base, we'll let all the other uncles and aunts enjoy the food here too, he said earnestly to me. Beautiful sister, thank you for taking us in and giving us such delicious food. Once we've had our revenge, we'll find as many crystal cores as you want for you. I just nodded nonchalantly, treating it as a child's empty promise. While they were washing the dishes, I grabbed a bag of cookies and 2 boxes of milk from the snack shelf in the kitchen. After they finished, I handed them the items. Here's your food for the day. Come back at 7 tonight. I'm going to rest. The 2 kids left the restaurant, just like the previous days. They quietly hid in the ruins surrounding the restaurant until 7 in the morning. The once warm restaurant suddenly became as dull and ordinary as any other building around. Ethan stood up and said to Mia, all right, beautiful sister must have left by now. Let's hurry and hunt zombies for crystal cores. Work on improving our special abilities, and get our revenge soon. Mia, following behind him, couldn't help but look back. Ethan, is beautiful sister really a fairy? She's so kind and gentle. Probably not. I didn't sense any special abilities from her. What about the poison in our bodies? She was bluffing us, Ethan said, falling silent for a moment, unconsciously clutching the cookies and warm milk in his hand. She really is a good person, even if it's not for the food. We need to protect the restaurant and not let anyone destroy it. Understand, living in a post-apocalyptic world, he was used to darkness. This sudden touch of warmth and purity gave him a reason to keep living. Mia, holding the still slightly warm milk, looked nostalgic. That noodle and fried egg dish was so delicious. I feel like my stomach is still warm, and my body is full of strength. Nutrient solutions provide energy too, but they can't compare to this food. Just thinking about eating beautiful sister's cooking every day gives me the motivation to survive. What about you? Me too. The past few days of hiding and exhaustion made me want to give up and just die. But from now on, we must live well, not only to avenge our father but also to repay beautiful sister and protect this last sanctuary. Mia, do you have the confidence? Of course. Good. Our goal today is to kill 100 zombies. Keep the white crystal cores for beautiful sister, and we'll use the others. I slept until 3 in the afternoon. After getting up, I first called a courier to send the crystal cores I got last night to Vince at the police station. Then I ordered some takeout for myself, thinking about the dishes for tomorrow night's birthday party while eating. Luke took a lot of fast food last night, and now the kitchen only had raw meats and vegetables that needed cooking. With so many people and my lack of skills in complex dishes, a lavish feast was out of the question. Suddenly, my phone pushed a video of a food review. What does it feel like for college students to brave a 68 yuan all-you-can-eat barbecue? My eyes lit up instantly, eating a steaming hot barbecue in the bitter cold. What could be better? I immediately ordered 4 electric grills on the local delivery app, along with barbecue sauces, lava garlic, lettuce, turkey noodles, and more. Meanwhile, at Sunrise Base, after completing her task, Luna bounced back cheerfully. Sunrise Base was not very large, housing a population of about 100,000. Housing and supplies were distributed based on the number of crystal cores submitted. Luna's family consisted of 6 members, her parents, 2 older brothers, and a younger sister who was only 3 or 4 years old. All 6 of them lived together in a cramped, 20-square-meter house. Despite the crowded and impoverished conditions, they were relatively content. When Luna got home, her 2 brothers had already returned, each holding 20 bottles of nutrient solution. Her father sighed. The base is giving out less and less nutrient solution. We only got this little for 200 white crystal cores. Her mother then poured out all the nutrient solution and diluted it with water, turning the 20 bottles into 40. This should last us another 3 days. I'll go out on a mission tomorrow too, she said. The eldest brother frowned. Nutrient solutions are getting scarcer. The second brother scoffed. Really? I think it's those higher-ups exploiting us. I heard they're using the crystal cores to develop more advanced nutrient solutions for themselves, getting plump while the concentration we get keeps decreasing. Their father sighed again. There's nothing we can do. They hold all the technology and resources. The eldest brother looked at their sleeping little sister, his eyes reddening. It doesn't matter much for us, but the little one is already malnourished. I wonder if she can grow up healthy. Their mother wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and changed the subject. Let's not talk about that. Luna is back. Her sentence was cut off as her gaze suddenly sharpened. She quickly moved to Luna's side, sniffing around her. I smell durian. Luna, is it coming from you? Surprised, Luna pulled out a durian mochi from her layers of clothing. Mom, you're amazing. You smelled it right away. It was given to me by Fairy Sister. The moment she saw the plump white mochi, her mother's brain buzzed, and her eyes quickly welled up with tears. Almost trembling, she snatched the mochi from Luna's hands. With a trembling voice, she exclaimed, "This is the smell of durian, real durian mochi." Luna, delighted, said, "Mom, I didn't expect you to recognize it." Of course, she recognized it. Before the apocalypse, she was just in her early 20s, a prime age for loving desserts, and durian-flavored treats were her favorite. Even her father was stunned. The 2 brothers, although clueless, knew it was something edible, especially since their sister had been raving about how delicious the food from Fairy Sister was. Recently showing disinterest in the nutrient solutions, they thought she was just eating some stale cookies, but it turned out to be fresh food. Considering that desserts usually require higher storage standards, the freshness of the mochi indicated it was recently made. Instantly, the mother gripped Luna's shoulders. Where is this Fairy Sister? And does she have a lot of food? Is it expensive? Why didn't you ask her to buy more food? Food has more energy than nutrient solutions. If we had food, we wouldn't need to drink diluted nutrient solutions. Luna immediately smiled. It's not expensive at all. I was actually planning to buy some to bring back for you, but Fairy Sister heard about your birthday tomorrow and wants to throw a birthday party for you. She invited me to bring you all along, and for just 10 white crystal cores, we can have a full meal. 10 crystal cores is indeed not expensive, remarked the mother. This Fairy Sister is truly a good person, added the father. Can all of us go? Asked one of the brothers. Luna nodded. Not just us, she also told me to invite other relatives and friends. Anyone willing to give crystal cores can come. Mom, you eat the mochi first. I'll go call Uncle, Aunt, and Jocelyn, she said and dashed off like a gust of wind. There was a moment of silence before the eldest brother asked, "So, are we going tomorrow?" Dad replied, "Yes. We must go as long as there's hope," Mom said. 10 white crystal cores can only be exchanged for a bottle of nutrient solution at the base, but if it really lets us have a full meal, it's worth it in this lifetime. After saying that, she divided the daifuku into 5 portions. Everyone tasted a small bite. The flavor of the dessert healed their despair and solidified their decision to go to the restaurant tomorrow night. At 7 o'clock sharp in the evening, Mia and Ethan pushed open the door and entered. They placed 12 white crystal cores on the counter. Beautiful sister. We hunted 102 zombies today. We absorbed the other cores to enhance our abilities. These are for you. I was momentarily surprised and praised. You guys are incredible. Then I'll accept these. Mia smiled shyly, then she eagerly stared at the kitchen. So, what are we having tonight? She asked, her mouth watering. I couldn't help but chuckle. Seeing how well behaved they were, I decided to cook them something delicious. I took out a semi-prepared burger from the fridge and heated it in the Microwave. Then I cooked the semi-prepared fried chicken in the air fryer for 20 minutes. The burger bun was crispy and soft, the beef inside juicy and tender, complemented by lettuce and salad dressing. It was a bite of bliss. The fried chicken was crispy outside, tender inside, dipped in chili or tomato sauce. It was so good one could almost suck their fingers into it. No kid could resist fried chicken and burgers. And these apocalypse-hardened kids were no exception. They ate enthusiastically, exclaiming absolutely fantastic, and even crushed the bones to swallow. After eating, they conscientiously cleaned the table and washed the dishes and pots. I then started preparing the menu for tomorrow night's barbecue buffet. No more customers came that night. Late into the night, they rested their heads on the table, warmed by the restaurant's air conditioning, and slept a peaceful and sweet sleep. At 6:30 in the morning, they woke up naturally. I cooked instant wontons for us to eat together. As usual, they even slurped up the soup clean. After giving them a bag of toast and 2 bottles of milk for lunch, I closed up and went to sleep. As usual, they waited until the lights in the restaurant dimmed before leaving. Mia's face was filled with a satisfied smile. I never thought that after Dad died, I could still live a life with enough food and good sleep. And every day when we leave, the beautiful sister gives us dry food. When we come back, the restaurant is lit with a warm glow, and she waits inside with a smiling face. It's like she's family. Ethan's nose tingled slightly, and after a long pause, he nodded deeply. After waking up, I started preparing the food according to the menu. I seasoned all the meat: black pepper beefsteak, spicy beef slices, pork belly, Orleans chicken, spicy ribs, etc. Then I washed all the vegetables. Next, I cooked popcorn chicken, fried drumsticks, and fried chicken cutlets in the air fryer. After the pre-cooked meals were ready, I steamed some rice and boiled 10 bags of turkey noodles. Unknowingly, the sky outside had changed. It was just 7 o'clock, the restaurant doors were pushed open, and a large crowd surged in. Mia and Ethan, who had worked in the restaurant for 2 days without encountering a single customer, looked on as Luke brought a dozen men and Luna brought over 30 friends and relatives, all with silent expressions. When the 3 groups of people met, they instinctively remained silent without anyone saying a word. I had just finished preparing the ingredients and immediately welcomed them. Everyone's here. It's cold outside. Come on in. Luke, could you and your friends wait outside for a moment? Luke nodded. No problem, we'll wait in the car. He said this while casually glancing into the restaurant, tables filled with dishes. Holy smokes, is that pork belly? Did the boss prepare barbecue for us today? Last time it was hot pot. This time barbecue. I haven't eaten this well even before the apocalypse. I'm so drooling, I'm dying of craving, my mouth is watering, but there was no choice. Even with the craving, they had to wait. They wouldn't dare defy my words. On the other hand, Luna and the others seemed as excited as if it were New Year's. Everyone, except Luna, had tears welling up in their eyes as soon as they stepped into the restaurant. It's actually food. When Luna called us, we thought she was joking. Yeah. If it weren't for Luna's mom assuring us so earnestly, I wouldn't have dared to venture out this late at night. My God, meat and fresh vegetables. It's been over 20 years. I haven't even seen expired meat, let alone fresh food like this. Rice, eggs, beef, sausages, all my favorites. The owner must be a magician to get all these ingredients. Everyone looked at me excitedly. Owner, is all this really prepared for us? Just 10 white crystal cores for all you can eat? I quickly replied, yes, my restaurant operates from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and I decide the daily menu. Each meal only costs 10 crystal cores. Today we have a special barbecue event, so you might not always get such luxury, but I'll make sure you're well fed. 10 crystal cores can only get you a bottle of nutrient solution at the base, but here you can eat fresh and delicious food. I'd be happy even if I had to eat plain white rice every day, and the restaurant is so warm. When I walked in, I almost thought I was back before the apocalypse. At this, everyone's eyes reddened a bit. Let's not talk about that anymore, Luna's father called out. To have such a real restaurant exist, and with such a generous and kind owner, we can come here to eat often without worrying about being hungry again. Yes, let's eat. I'm starving. I merged the tables in the hall together. There were 4 electric grills set up. It was a bit cramped with over 30 people, but with such tempting food in front of them, who cared about the crowd? They swarmed in. Someone grilled fresh slices of meat on the grill, which sizzled and oozed tantalizing aromas. Various meats dipped in barbecue sauce, wrapped in lettuce, and popped into mouths. With each bite, their bodies warmed up. Others filled a bowl with rice, adding slices of grilled meat, sausages, and barbecue sauce, mixing everything well. A bowl of barbecue rice was thus made. The rice, glistening and plump, wrapped around the grilled meat, was so satisfying that their eyes couldn't help but squint in delight. It's so delicious. This beef is so tender and there's a hint of a milky aroma. You can tell it's good quality the moment you taste it. The rice is incredibly soft too, just this plain rice, and I could eat 3 big bowls of it, and these spicy turkey noodles, so satisfying. You know, I used to love spicy food, and it's been so many years since I've had it, I almost forgot what chili tastes like. Haha, you're crying from the spice, I don't care. It's delicious and so worth it, only 10 crystal nuclei to enjoy such heavenly food. I'm going to eat here every day from now on. I was losing my will to live, but now I've decided to keep fighting, to kill more zombies and come back for more delicious food. Better to give my crystal nuclei to the fairy-like shop owner than those people at the base. At least she can fill us up. Haha. The restaurant was suddenly filled with joyful laughter after everyone had their fill. I suddenly turned off the lights in the restaurant. In an instant, we were plunged into darkness. What happened? Could it be the zombies? We must protect the fairy lady and her restaurant at all costs. Brothers, get ready, we're breaking out. As they became agitated, I wheeled out a cart from the kitchen. On it was a large 4-tiered cake I had ordered it the day before. The cake, filled with candles, bathed the small restaurant in a warm glow. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. The moment they heard this birthday song, those who had experienced the world before the apocalypse couldn't help but feel a twinge at the tip of their nose. Some even started to shed tears. The birthday person herself was sobbing uncontrollably. I thought I'd never taste a birthday cake again in my life. Mom, what are you talking about? With Fairy Sister here, not only will we eat our fill, but we'll eat well. Don't say such things. We need to stay healthy. Exactly. Everyone was moved by the atmosphere. They couldn't help but join in singing the birthday song. The melody resonated far and wide, not only celebrating Luna's mother's birthday, but also their desperate, cold, and harsh reality, their craving for food, and their hope for survival. Luna helped me cut the cake and distribute it among them. She also saved some for Luke and others outside, who were eagerly waiting. After finishing, everyone thanked me. My child was born during the apocalypse and has never tasted anything good. Once I earn some crystal nuclei, I'll definitely bring her here to taste this heavenly food. My grandmother is old and keeps saying she doesn't want to live. If she could taste these dishes, she would surely find the hope to keep living. Fairy lady, I'll come here every day from now. I'll eat whatever you make. Yes. Let us know if you have any difficulties. You must keep this place open. We depend on your restaurant to live. Luna and her family were almost ready to kneel down in gratitude. I've been struggling for over 20 years in the apocalypse. Thank you for giving me an unforgettable birthday. In their eyes, outside was the extreme cold and terrifying zombies. Although the base ensured safety, the exploitation by the higher-ups was getting worse. Resources were dwindling. They thought they wouldn't survive much longer. Now there is such an existence that allows them to afford food and eat their fill. What reason do they have not to live well? Luna and a few friends helped Mia and Ethan clear the table and wash the dishes and pots. Half an hour later, I was ready for the second round of barbecuing. I called out to Luke and the others, "All right, come on in." As soon as I finished speaking, they rushed in like swift wolves, exclaiming, "It's finally our turn, we're starving." It's barbecue, real fresh and delicious barbecue. Just one bite and I feel full of energy, and there are such big pots of rice. This is awesome, owner, you're like a god to us. The next day, as usual, I sent the harvested crystals to Vince via express delivery. Not long after he received the package, he called me. "I've sorted out the house issue. I can take you there today. When are you free?" I immediately sat up in bed. "I'm free now," Vince replied. "All right, I'll come to pick you up." Half an hour later, a car stopped outside the restaurant. I opened the door and got in. He lit a cigarette and looked at the deserted and somewhat dilapidated restaurant. Feeling a bit sympathetic. "Business is bad. What kind of food do you have?" "I'll come by next time," I vaguely responded. "It's fine, no need to make a special trip. Let's go." Officer, little did he know, this seemingly deserted restaurant was the hope for many to survive. Vince did not comment further. My parents' house, left to me, was close to my grandmother's restaurant, just a half-hour drive away. As soon as the car stopped, I heard sharp curses from the front door. "This house is ours. What right do you have to make us move?" In front of the small villa were about a dozen relatives, armed with shovels and sticks, angrily blocking the house. A group of people in suits, likely lawyers, said emotionlessly, "The property deed is in Kevin's name, and after their death, the primary heir Stella has the right to inherit this house. You have no right to it." "Nonsense. Who are you to dictate our family matters? If you're capable, let Stella say it herself. Stella is my niece. She said she'd give us the house." "Damn Stella, a jinx." We took Her, and despite her being cursed, and she promised us the house, now to take it back, she's a beast. I stepped out of the car with a stern face. Really, Aunt, when did I say I'd give you the house? Seeing me, both sides fell silent for a moment. The next second, my aunt pointed at my nose and scolded, "You jinx, you still have the face to show up. What, isn't it the time when you begged me for a meal? Since you've eaten my food, this house is mine, and no one else can take it. I don't care about the law. We're staying right here today. Let's see who dares to enter." I looked at the cold, familiar faces before me. They were once my family. Now, they stand before me like monsters, with a brazen, confident look in their eyes. The law does not intimidate them. They're used to causing chaos in the town. They fought over land and stolen livestock with no one to stop them. What can I, an orphan, do against them? I didn't want to waste my words on them, so I turned to Vince. He promptly flashed his police badge and warned, "I am a police officer. If you continue this disturbance, don't blame me for arresting you for disrupting public order." The crowd's expression shifted slightly. My uncle, trying to maintain his composure, scoffed, "A police officer? How do we know if that's even real?" "Yeah, since when does Stella know a cop? You didn't even come in a police car. We don't believe you. Even if the police were indeed here, they weren't afraid. The local cops were ineffective." But Vince's demeanor turned icy. After a moment, he made a call. 10 minutes later, 2 police cars arrived. The town's police chief, sweating profusely, approached. "Officer Vince, for such a small matter, you could have just informed us instead of coming here yourself." Vince coldly pointed at my hostile relatives. "Can you handle it?" The chief nodded vigorously. "Of course." He then began directing the junior officers to disperse the crowd. I sneered as I watched his eager efforts. I had called the police before, but they always brushed me off. Now, with real police presence, my relatives glared at me viciously. Reluctantly, they left, muttering under their breath. With the help of a lawyer, I submitted the documents to transfer the property. I immediately contacted a real estate agent to list the house for sale. I have no family left in this world, and nothing here holds any sentimental value for me. My parents in heaven would understand. As I turned to leave, a pitiful voice called out from behind, "Sister, where are you going?" "Sis, our aunt and uncle may be greedy, but they are our only family left. Isn't this too harsh? What will you do in the future?" I looked at her coldly. "What future?" Yuki raised her chin slightly. "The house can only sell for 500,000 or 600,000 at most. What will you do when that money runs out? Without family, who will you rely on if someone bullies you?" I almost laughed out of anger. "Yuki, how can you even say that? After our parents died, they were the ones who bullied us the most. I took so many beatings to protect you. Not only do you not stand with me, but you also sided with them and even tried to marry me off to some old man. Do you even care?" Yuki bit her lip. "I was thinking of your best interest. What girl doesn't marry? Isn't marrying a wealthy man a good thing?" She approached to pull me. "Sis, please go apologize to them. The house is big enough for all of us to live together. Do you really want to be an orphan?" I shook off her hand and said coldly, "I used to think that way, but now I've realized that outside of them, the world is full of good people. We don't have to associate with those we disagree with." "Yuki, stop calling me sister from now on," I said before getting into the car. Seeing my upset expression, Vince did not offer any comforting words. Instead, he pulled out a check from his wallet, 300,000, a grant from the national and scientific institutions. I took the hefty check, and my face immediately lit up with joy, instantly forgetting any gloomy emotions. "Thank you, Officer Vince, and thank you to our nation." Vince smiled and then dropped a bombshell. "Did you know, thanks to you, we've begun to develop a new type of satellite?" I stared at him in disbelief, puzzled. "Aren't satellites already a thing?" Vince shook his head, explaining cautiously, "It's different. This new satellite has a wider coverage and a greater impact. Initially, it was developed by me country, and other nations spent a fortune trying to buy it from them. Our country wanted to buy it too, but as soon as we expressed interest, we were turned down." I listened silently. Me country had always targeted our nation overtly and covertly. They rejected any advanced technology, inventions, and materials to our country and even incited other nations to isolate us. But now, things are looking up, Vince said with a grin, crow's feet appearing at the corners of his eyes. "Thanks to the energy from the crystals, not only did we develop it, but ours is even better than me country's. Now it's their turn to come to us." I laughed along. "That's really great news," Vince continued. "So, after the successful trials, they plan to award you the Huaxia National Science Medal. An academician will personally present it to you at a ceremony attended by many journalists. Can you handle that?" My eyes widened in disbelief. Such good fortune. Of course. No problem. 37. I returned home in high spirits. The nation valued These crystal cores greatly, they not only solved my problems but also rewarded me with money and honors. Naturally, I was even more motivated to earn resources for my country. I immediately started preparing ingredients diligently. However, there wasn't much left from last night's barbecue, and I hadn't shopped for new supplies today. I had to make do with some instant meals from the fridge. Just at 7 o'clock. The door opened. Mia and Ethan, as usual, placed a dozen white crystal cores on the cash register but hadn't yet managed to tidy up the tables and chairs. The restaurant's door chime rang eagerly. The fairy shopkeeper, "Good evening, you're so punctual, I just came to try my luck. Didn't expect you'd actually be open. What's on the menu tonight? I've been looking forward to it since this afternoon. I'm starving. I thought you guys were just bragging back at the base, but there really is a restaurant here. Is there really barbecue, the kind that sizzles with heat and is greasy?" I shook my head. No barbecue today. Those who wanted barbecue seemed disappointed, but others said, "Forget the barbecue, any food will do. I'm not picky. I haven't eaten anything in over 20 years, even if it's spoiled. I could eat it. Come on, I thought there was going to be barbecue. Without it, isn't that fraud?" "Exactly, I want barbecue. The others bragged so much about yesterday. Why should they eat and not us? If you don't serve us barbecue, we'll smash up this lousy place." Mia and Ethan immediately stepped in front of me. "No causing trouble. Who let this brat in? Get out of here," shouted an irritated patron. Other customers also stood up, glaring at them intently. In the next second, a flash of white light appeared, and the three of them vanished without a trace, leaving the remaining people shocked, their eyes wide open. After a moment, one of them said admiringly, "The owner is incredible. Was that some kind of magic? I told you, anyone who can manage to run a restaurant and provide food during the apocalypse can't be simple. We better just listen to the fairy-like owner." Another chimed in, "Exactly, fairy owner, we're not picky, we'll happily eat whatever you serve." They then dutifully handed over 10 white crystal cores to the front desk and obediently sat down at the tables to wait for their meal. After my renovations, the restaurant now seats 30 to 40 people. It wasn't long before it was full. Everyone was eagerly awaiting their food, swallowing saliva continuously, their stomachs growling audibly. An idea struck me. I opened the fridge and took out several bags of frozen dumplings, wontons, and sweet rice balls. Then, I put a pot of water on to boil and sent Mia to take the customers' orders. "What? Dumplings, and they're meat-filled?" exclaimed a customer. "Holy crap, I want some. It's been years since I've had meat. Just thinking about it makes my mouth water." "I'll have the wontons," another said. "Are the rice balls filled with black sesame? I like sweet stuff, I'll have those," another decided. The quick meals were ready soon. Within minutes, everything was cooked and served. I walked out of the kitchen only to find that a long line had formed outside the restaurant at some point, the people standing in the cold dark wind as if they didn't feel the chill at all. They craned their necks, eyes filled with longing, looking at the warm glow emanating from the small restaurant. A fire-powered ability user had set up a bonfire, while other ability users cleared away zombies. Everyone lined up in an orderly fashion, even chatting and laughing together, a stark contrast to the gloomy resentment of before. After all, with good food, there comes hope. Who would want to cause trouble? They were all eager to behave and get their meal as soon as possible. However, there were still some at the back of the line who were skeptical. Is there really food? It's been so long. Surely it's all moldy and rotten by now. I wonder if it's even edible. Holy smokes, you guys, look, someone shouted. The restaurant door was transparent, and through the gaps, they could clearly see the customers inside, enjoying their steaming hot bowls heartily. Upon closer inspection, they could indeed see dumplings, wontons, and even sweet rice balls. Ah, I believe it now. I'm so hungry. When will it be my turn? I don't care, even if I don't get in today. I'm coming back tomorrow to line up. And the day after that too. I'll get my turn. Eventually, with so many ability users gathered here together, everyone, "I'm not worried about safety at all," remarked a guest inside, overwhelmed with joy. The guests heartily devoured their food, soup and all. The dumplings were plump and juicy, bursting with savory meat juice at each bite. The wontons, with their thin skins and generous fillings, offered a deliciously salty taste and a chewy texture. The sweet rice balls oozed sesame filling that warmed the soul upon tasting. "This is delicious, truly fresh cuisine," one exclaimed. "Eating this in the freezing cold is just amazing. I have 3 rice balls left. Can I trade them for 3 of your dumplings? Can I swap half a bowl of wontons for half of your rice balls?" "Great, let's swap so we can taste all 3 varieties." Surviving in a post-apocalyptic world, they had even eaten dirt. Having real food was more than enough, and they licked their bowls clean, eating until they were sweating and teary-eyed from delight. Amazing, This is incredible, owner. You're like a living deity, managing to procure fresh food even after so long since the apocalypse, and all for just 10 crystal nuclei per meal. As long as your restaurant is open, I'll definitely come every day. They wanted to continue showering me with praises, but turning around, they saw a long line forming at the door. Frightened by the crowd, they quickly made their goodbyes to make room for others. Mia and Ethan hurried to clear the tables and wash the dishes as the next wave of customers eagerly rushed in. With so many people, just boiling dumplings and wontons wasn't enough. I fired up the air fryer for some fried food and microwaved some pre-made burgers. Then, I pulled out a crate of canned cola and addressed the queue outside. Tonight's menu includes boiled wontons, dumplings, and rice balls, as well as fried chicken, burgers, and cola. Just hand your crystal nuclei to Mia and Ethan, sign up, and choose if you're having boiled food. Please take a seat. If you're having fried food, feel free to stand. Try to stay inside the restaurant. It's cold out. The boiled dishes were served in generous portions, while the fried food included a burger, 2 chicken legs, and a cola. It was enough to fill up those with smaller appetites and satisfy most of those with larger ones. Upon hearing this, the crowd buzzed with excitement. The owner is truly a merciful savior, thinking of us. What? Burgers, fried chicken, and cola too. I loved these when I was about 7 or 8, but my parents wouldn't let me have them. Then the apocalypse came, and you can't imagine how upset I was. It's so cold. I want some piping hot wontons. I'll have the fried chicken, crunchy and delicious. It gets my adrenaline pumping. And pack some for my son too. He's never tried it and shouldn't miss out. I'll also have some dumplings and pack 2 fried chicken burger meals for my child. What? We can take away? Then I want that too. Let's skip packing the boiled food. It'll just get mushy and spoil the taste, wasting the fairy owner's ingredients. Let's pack the fried stuff and have a fire user heat it up. We get to enjoy a wonderful meal again. Does this mean as long as the restaurant is here, we won't have to drink nutrient solutions anymore? Nonsense. Those nutrient solutions are expensive and taste awful. If there's good food available, who would want to drink them? They eagerly handed over their crystal cores. Then, very conscientiously, they either stood or sat, drooling. They stared longingly at the kitchen. It was past 10 at night when Luna walked into the shop, her face a picture of shock. Oh my god, it's finally my turn. Fairy sister, you wouldn't believe how long the line outside is. I checked, and it's not just people from our base. Folks from the Kite base 5 kilometers away and the Dawn base 10 kilometers out are here too. I have no idea where they got the news from. In the restaurant, there were people from other bases as well. One of them was devouring dumplings, occasionally lifting his head from his bowl, his eyes brimming with tears of gratitude. I have a relative at your base, and he mentioned having barbecue. I didn't believe him at first, then he bet me 100 white crystal cores, so I followed him here. Seeing such a long queue, I thought at best the food would be a bit off, but to my surprise, everything's fresh. Yes, exactly, I heard about it from someone too and thought I'd try my luck. After all, nutrient solutions are so expensive, and I can barely afford them anymore. I heard a meal only costs 10 white crystal cores, and I thought even biscuits would do, but to actually get a decent meal is incredible, and it's not just tasty, it's filling too. I used to be alive but without food or fun, and facing those disgusting zombies every day, I felt like I'd rather be dead. Now that I can enjoy good food again, I instantly feel motivated to keep living and fighting zombies. Good food really can heal the soul. I'm going to tell all my friends about this tonight, though it means more people might come, and we might have to wait longer. As long as it gives everyone hope to keep living, the wait is worth it. They happily continued eating and chatting. Their expressions were relaxed, and their spirits were lifted, almost as if they were back in the pre-apocalyptic days. It had been a long time since they'd felt this carefree. Curious, I asked them. I've been wanting to ask, why is everyone so well behaved here? Everyone queues up so orderly and finds their seats according to the rules. I've been running this place for a while, though I've encountered troublemakers. Compared to the apocalyptic world, there are actually fewer difficult customers here. Everyone quickly responded with a smile. Before the apocalypse, indeed, there were many vicious and malevolent people, but such individuals, who harmed others and made enemies, naturally didn't survive long. Those of us who are still alive have faced life and death, not only cherishing our own lives but also others. We all know that only by coming together, establishing and following rules, can we compete with zombies and monsters for survival resources in nature. If everyone were fighting among themselves, humanity would have been extinct by now. In more dangerous times, we need to stick together even more. 5 years before the apocalypse, the number of living humans drastically decreased, and we almost lost to the zombies. Fortunately, we came together just in time, and now our population is growing every year. We all believe that one day, humanity will completely defeat the zombies and reclaim our land. Then, enjoying a bowl of hot dumplings like this won't be just a dream. Besides, we all want to eat quickly and not cause trouble for you, so of course, we listen to you and follow the rules you set. Yes, and if anyone dares to break the rules, don't worry about him disrupting our mealtime. You won't need to intervene. Everyone here will help you stop him. That's how it was. I showed a relieved and touched smile. Even in these cruel end times, their humanity had not been eroded. Instead, it had brought them closer together. This is humanity. I was busy until 3 in the morning today. When the last pot of dumplings was finished, I looked at the endless line outside and apologized. Sorry. The ingredients prepared for today have sold out. I'll prepare more for tomorrow. Please come back then. Hearing this, although they were disappointed, they expressed understanding. It's okay, fairy shopkeeper, it's already wonderful that you can provide us with food. Yes, and besides, you've shown us that restaurants and gourmet food really exist. Now, our lives are filled with hope. Just having the chance to eat like this makes us happy. After they left, I called Luna and her friends over. I handed them the burgers, fried chicken, and colas I had saved for them. The restaurant was so busy today, and my 2 little helpers were overwhelmed. Thank goodness you were here to assist. Take these back with you to eat. The girls looked at each other, feeling somewhat embarrassed. There's no need, fairy sister. Helping out here is much easier than fighting zombies. We just want everyone to be able to eat sooner. Really, these foods are so precious. You should keep them for yourself. How can we take them for nothing? I smiled. Keep them, otherwise I'd be too embarrassed to ask you for a favor. Hearing this, Luna signaled them to accept. Then I continued, as you can see, the restaurant is doing very well now, and I expect it will continue like this, so I would like to hire you as waitresses. The job is for 8 hours in the evening, with the same salary as Mia and others, including 3 meals a day. What do you think? There were 6 girls there. They had been busy all day, serving dishes, clearing bowls, wiping tables, and washing dishes, all very quick and diligent. Upon hearing my offer, they looked utterly flattered. Really, fairy sister, can we really stay here and help out, and you'll provide 3 meals a day? My goodness, that's 3 meals a day. Fairy sister's food is so delicious, not to mention 3 meals. Even 1 meal would be enough for me. Actually, you don't have to give us so much. We're happy to help, and seeing everyone so satisfied makes us truly happy. I shook my head. That won't do. Although you are young, you are still half the workforce at home. So it's settled. They nodded vigorously, thanking me repeatedly. Then, clutching their food, they left with excited expressions and light steps. Back at home, they immediately reported the news to their parents. The Rising Sun base, being closest to the restaurant and with many affluent and available people visiting tonight, was well aware of the restaurant's existence. Therefore, Luna's family felt very proud. My daughter is doing well. Only 15 or 16 years old, and she's already working for the fairy shopkeeper, and even getting 3 free meals a day. The shopkeeper is generous, providing plenty of food. If you can't finish it, you can bring some home, and they could bring some back for us to eat. Since you've received favor from the fairy-like shop owner, don't be lazy, work hard, you understand. The girls nodded emphatically. Meanwhile, in the conference room of the Asahi base leadership, the second-in-command spoke with a grave tone. I went to check it out today, though I didn't eat anything. There indeed exists such a restaurant. I've observed that people from other bases are also visiting, but not as many as from our base. The third in command, with a face full of sternness, slammed the table. Food will eventually run out. Instead of sharing with other bases, we should monopolize it. While people from other bases are still largely unaware, and given that the restaurant is closest to our base, it's better to take control of it sooner rather than later. However, the leader frowned and said, that's not acceptable. In these apocalyptic times, humanity should unite. Our nutrient solutions are expensive, and people are already complaining. If we lose the people's support and other bases take the opportunity to band together and overwhelm us, what then? The third in command scoffed. They don't have to buy our nutrient solutions if they think they're too expensive. Aren't we also bearing costs? Taking over the restaurant is for their own good too. We secure food, and they get to eat their fill. I don't believe the other bases, being so far away, would extend their reach here. Besides, it's just a bit of food. It won't be enough to provoke them into waging war. This time, the leader, stroking his chin, did not object. After sending Luna away, I said to Mia and Ethan, you two should get some sleep now. With their help, you'll only need to work until midnight. I'll clean up the storeroom and set up 2 sleeping mats for you. You'll sleep there from now on. The eyes of the 2 kids immediately reddened. Sister, thank you. After they went to sleep, I counted tonight's earnings. Surprisingly, there were over 5,000 white crystal nuclei. We struck it rich. Just then, the sound of a truck came from outside the restaurant. Looking up, I saw Luke getting down from the truck. Behind him was a robust woman with dark skin and bright eyes. Upon entering, the woman first looked around the restaurant with surprise and then extended her hand to me formally. Hello, shop owner. My name is Sherry, and I'm the leader of Hinshan base. I shook her hand, somewhat surprised that the leader of such a large base was a woman. She got straight to the point. After Luke returned, he told me about the restaurant. At first, I thought he was joking, but he actually brought back biscuits and bread from here, all with recent production dates. We've held several meetings recently, taking into account our base's population, resources, and strength, considering factors like weather and the environment. Today, we've finally prepared a list of supplies and have come to discuss it with you. She handed me a stack of documents. The paper was a bit old but still clean, and the writing was neat. The supply list was very detailed. It included mineral water and various functional beverages, even alcohol. The food was mostly easy to store items like compressed biscuits, bread, and grains. There were even clothes and bedding listed. Sherry explained, these items are based on our current survival needs for clothing and other goods. If there's anything you can't provide, you can cross it out. They had quite a discussion about my presence. Eventually, they concluded that most likely, I had inherited a space. This space contained a large stash of supplies accumulated before the apocalypse. I have wealth enough to last me 10 lifetimes. That's why I can afford to spend so recklessly. They even speculated that my space must contain everyday items, otherwise, the restaurant wouldn't be so clean. I changed my clothes daily, and even the furniture and kitchenware seem brand new, though it sounds like something out of a doomsday stockpiling novel. Now that the apocalypse has happened, what isn't possible? I carefully reviewed the list and then said, some of these items might not be available immediately. Let's do this. I can provide the easier items for me in 3 days, and for the rest, you can come back in 7 days. If I have them by then, they're yours. If not, then never mind. Sherry almost laughed. She thought I was just pretending to have a hard time to avoid revealing my space, but after all, they were the ones in need. She nodded agreeably. All right, thank you. As for the price we've offered, Luke, bring it over. Upon hearing this, Luke pulled out a metal box from his cold weather gear. Sherry took it and opened the box. Inside, 2 shimmering gold cores made me squint. I had received yellow-grade cores recently. Gold and yellow might look similar in color, but these gold cores were plump, round, and dazzlingly bright. The energy inside them was abundant, almost like flowing liquid. At 6 o'clock sharp, Mia and Ethan came out. They just caught the scene. Both of them gasped. My God, are those gold cores? I've never seen a gold core in my life. I quietly asked them, are these rare? Ethan replied, extremely rare. It said that there are fewer than 1,000 gold cores in the entire apocalypse. That valuable? I couldn't help but express my surprise. Sherry burst out laughing. This is our first cooperation, and this is the sincerity of Hinshan base. If you need anything in the future, just let us know, and we'll do our best to accommodate you. I smiled broadly. Great, great. With the deal settled and dawn approaching, I said to her and Luke, since you're here, have breakfast before you go. We were about to eat anyway. I cooked them each 2 packets of instant noodles. I even added fried eggs and sausages. Sherry looked at the steaming noodles with surprise and took a deep breath. This is the flavor I thought I'd never taste again after the apocalypse. Boiled noodles are more chewy and springy than soaked ones. The fried noodles mixed with the broth, coating each strand perfectly. Taking a slurp, all taste buds were awakened. Not only is the food delicious, but the owner's cooking is exceptional. No wonder there was such a long queue when we came last night. Having a bowl of noodles and a sip of hot soup here satisfies more than anything. The others nodded in agreement. Indeed, Luke had been munching on biscuits at the base these days, though they were much better than the previous grainy nutrient solutions, but he still missed the food made by the owner. Even simple noodles brought him immense satisfaction. As for Mia and Ethan, that goes without saying, they've been enjoying delicious food and drinks here. Supposedly they came to work, but in reality, they ate well and slept warm. Their complexions improved and their cheeks grew rounder after a hearty meal. I sent the 4 on their way. Then I prepared to place orders, not only for tonight's ingredients, but also a large order from Sherry. Fortunately, all the cookies, breads, and candies Sherry wanted could be easily purchased online in any quantity needed. I successfully placed the order, and the delivery would arrive within 3 days, which was very reassuring. However, deciding on the restaurant's menu was more challenging. Cooking dumplings, instant noodles, or frying chicken burgers was Just too time-consuming, and I couldn't let anyone help in the kitchen. Suddenly, I had a bright idea. Since I was already using semi-prepared foods, why not go all the way with it? So, I immediately ordered various buns, steamed bread, and pre-cooked dishes like braised pork, curry chicken, and fried eggs from Sam's. The buns and steamed bread just needed to be steamed in a large pot, all at once. The pre-cooked dishes could be heated in the microwave for a few minutes and they'd be just like freshly made. Once the food was ready, I went to sleep contentedly. In the afternoon, upon waking up, I started preparing the pre-cooked meals. I set up 2 3-tier steamers, one for buns and another for steamed bread. I also filled 4 rice cookers to the brim with rice. Next, I poured the pre-cooked fried eggs into an air fryer. Then, I stir-fried all the braised pork in a large pot. The curry chicken was all mixed together and heated in the microwave. Considering the shortage of plates and the hassle of washing up, I had bought disposable lunch boxes and chopsticks earlier in the day, 1 box for the dishes, another for the rice, accompanied by a bottle of cola. If there were seats available in the restaurant, customers could sit and eat. Otherwise, they could easily take their meals to go, which was both convenient and effortless, simply perfect. In the dead of winter, the days were shorter than the nights. At 6:59 p.m., as the world outside was enveloped in darkness, those queuing outside the restaurant at the stroke of 7 p.m. discovered something magical. The previously dim and indistinct building, cold and silent as the apocalypse itself, suddenly radiated a warm light. It was as if it had come to life. Their eyes widened in disbelief, and their spirits warmed up along with the little restaurant. I opened the door, and the wind chimes jingled. Luna and Mia, among others, walked in and greeted me. "Good evening, fairy sister, we're here to help. What's delicious today?" "I think I smell something sweet." I couldn't help but laugh. "You have keen noses. Today I've steamed sweet red bean and milk-flavored buns, and I have buns with either cabbage or pork fillings. Oh, and there are meal boxes too. What would you like to eat?" As I spoke, I handed out portions of food to each of them. The milk-flavored red bean buns were soft and pale, breaking open to release a rich, sweet aroma. The buns had thin skins and generous fillings, with the meat buns even glistening under the warm yellow light. They savored their food, almost wanting to lick their fingers. The people queuing outside stretched their necks. "When are they opening? What's on the menu today? Let me see. Looks like buns and steamed bread." "Buns? What kind of fillings?" "There's cabbage and pork." "Wow, is it really meat?" I'm so hungry, I'm drooling. Please open up, I can't wait to eat." "Pork buns. I think I could eat 10 in one go." 5 minutes later, after the staff finished preparing dinner, I hung out the "open for business" sign. The very next moment, a crowd stormed in eagerly. "Quick, fairy shop owner, I want 10 large meat buns and also pack 5 plain buns, 5 with cabbage filling, and 5 with meat filling for me to take home to my wife and kids." "I'll take 3 plain buns, 5 meat buns, 2 cabbage buns and pack another 10 meat buns. I would also like..." They hurriedly placed the crystal cores on the cashier counter, fearing that if they were too late, everything would be sold out. Everyone ordered according to their appetites and the number of family members, making sure to pack food accordingly. They didn't want to waste any food and also worried that if they finished eating, others might not get a chance. I asked them to calm down and cleared my throat, announcing, "Today, our little shop has not only buns and dumplings but also boxed meals. Boxed meals are 15 white crystal cores each, and buns are 2 white crystal cores each. Please purchase according to your appetite." As soon as I finished speaking, they exclaimed with surprise, "Boxed meals? Can we take them away to eat? Does that mean we don't need to queue anymore?" I nodded. "Buns, dumplings, and such can all be taken away. I remember some of you have fire-type abilities. You could use that to heat them up. Alternatively, you can choose to wait in line and eat here in the warm, bright atmosphere of the restaurant, almost making it feel like the apocalypse never came, with the weather being so cold. It's definitely better to take away. The shop owner truly deserves to be called a fairy, just as kind-hearted as a bodhisattva, always considering our needs. I'm so touched. Now not only can I enjoy hot food, but my family can too when I take it home. Since that's the case, I'll pack up then. There are 3 of us at home, so packing 3 boxed meals and 30 buns isn't too much, right? I want to eat in the restaurant. I just love the atmosphere here. It's so warm and bright. It feels like the apocalypse hasn't even arrived." "Shop owner, what's in the boxed meals? Today even the buns have meat, so the boxed meals must have some too. Who cares? Just being able to eat rice and cabbage makes me feel like I could fly with joy." Amid their expectant gazes, I opened a boxed meal right there and smiled. Each boxed meal includes braised pork and curry potato chicken, plus a bottle of cola. Everyone's eyes focused on my hands. Inside the white boxed meal, the braised pork was thick with sauce, perfectly balanced with fat and lean, the sauce glossy and thick under the warm yellow lights, emitting a tempting sheen. Taking a bite, the oiliness of the meat and the savory taste of the sauce instantly filled the mouth. The curry was thick and sticky, perfect when mixed with rice, with the golden curry sauce enveloping each grain of rice, making it sticky and savory, and not to forget the cola. Taking a sip seemed to instantly activate the taste buds, sending adrenaline soaring. The crowd went wild. I never thought I'd have the chance to eat braised pork in the apocalypse. Let me have a bite, and I'd die happy. Oh my god, when will it be my turn? I feel like I'm drooling already. It was still not yet 3 o'clock when everything I had prepared sold out. Fortunately, today there were more people who bought boxed meals and buns, so they were well fed. Hence, although those who came later couldn't buy anything, seeing that their friends had packed some, they managed to get a few bites and weren't too disappointed. Mia and Ethan were sleeping in a storeroom I had cleared for them. In the small storeroom, 2 wooden beds were placed side by side, each layered with 2 quilts. They curled up in bed, their cheeks flushed with sleep, and although it was a bit cramped, it was still more comfortable than sleeping slumped over a desk every day. The 2 of them even started snoring softly. After Luna and her friends packed up their things, they bid me farewell. They couldn't stay until 7 p.m., like Mia and Ethan, as they still had things to attend to at home. I expressed my understanding. As they were leaving, I divided up the food I had set aside for them. Each person received 2 boxed meals, 10 meat buns, and 10 steamed buns. Holding the still warm, heavy food, the eyes of the girls reddened. I quickly asked, "What's wrong?" Jocelyn, one of the girls, said, "Fairy sister, thank you for being so kind to us at home. I was always the one lagging behind because I wasn't as capable as my brothers, although they never said anything. I felt very guilty inside. Now that I have this job, being able to bring food back to them makes me incredibly happy. In this apocalyptic world, women are often suppressed because of their physical constitution, but with your encouragement, we are slowly regaining our confidence." Hearing their words, I was quite moved. Who says women are inferior to men? The leader of the Henshan base is a woman, brave and decisive, and very strong. We should all learn from her. Luna and the others looked at each other, and finally, nodded heavily. Yes, for the next 2 days, I continued to sell prefab boxed meals. No matter how many I prepared, they would sell out. The prefab meals, which were shunned in my world, became a delicacy that they couldn't praise enough. On the 3rd day, Luke brought the Henshan base's truck fleet over. I handed over the first batch of agreed-upon supplies to them. People lining up for food were amazed as they watched boxes of biscuits, bread, and other supplies being loaded onto the trucks. Wow, can it really be done like this? The shop owner's supplies are so abundant, and he's willing to give so much. You know, in the apocalypse, although crystals are important, they are not as crucial as food. The shop owner is really generous. If that's the case, should our base also consider purchasing supplies like this? No, I need to go back and discuss this with our leader. I'll go too. People interested hurried back to their bases, worried that if they were too late, the supplies would be bought up by other bases. After closing the shop in the morning, I continued to order the evening's ingredients at the supermarket and also purchased the remaining supplies online. In order not to attract too much attention, I didn't buy a lot of clothing or bedding, but the quantity was still considerable. Even the delivery and local courier drivers were puzzled. The restaurant business wasn't great. Why buy so much every day? Could it be preparing for a famine? Just when I was sound asleep, the phone rang. This was a new number I had switched to, so not many people had it, and I hadn't silenced it. The caller ID showed Vince, and I answered. "What's up, Officer Vince? Are you still sleeping?" Officer Vince's voice could hardly contain his excitement. It was infectious even through the phone screen. The new satellite experiment was a success. The National Joint Science Department is planning a commendation ceremony, scheduled for tomorrow in Kyoto, and we're both invited. My drowsiness instantly vanished. Really, that's great. When are we going? The successful trial of the new satellite marks a significant leap forward for our nation's technology. It's a major event, and I'm fortunate to be involved. I feel extremely honored, Vince also said with a smile. The plane leaves at 9 tomorrow morning. I'll pick you up at 7:30, so don't oversleep during the evening shift. Luna noticed my joy. Boss lady, what's got you so happy? A great joy, I replied thoughtfully. You'd feel the same if you made an outstanding contribution to your base. To my surprise, a few of the girls sighed. We used to think the same, but as we grew older, we realized it wasn't quite like that. Curious, I asked, what happened? Luna lowered her voice. Initially, our base's leader was good and worked for the common people, but ever since the leadership at the top changed, things have deteriorated. The price of nutrient fluids keeps rising, and They're getting more diluted. They claim all the crystal cores are being spent on research, but after all this time, they haven't produced anything significant, and they're just living it up every day. Many at our base are disgruntled, and in recent years, quite a few have even switched to other bases. I was shocked, really. It seems everywhere has those selfish, pleasure-seeking capitalists. Why haven't you switched bases? The girls replied glumly, we'd like to, but other bases have their requirements, and only my 2 brothers are combat capable. Switching bases means starting all over again. Besides, we've been here so long, we're used to how things work here. Switching bases now, who knows what it would be like? I disagreed. Sunk cost shouldn't factor into major decisions. Things are already so bad. Breaking away might actually offer a new path. They had never been to school. All their knowledge came from their parents. This was the first time they'd heard such a novel idea. And, realizing its merit, they nodded in surprise. I get it now. It's just like you, fairy sister, to know so much. I scratched my head, feeling a bit embarrassed. It's a pity, though I had been admitted to Kyoto Normal University. I was inexplicably expelled because of Scarlett's father's close relationship with the dean. I still haven't gotten over that. By 3 o'clock, all the boxed lunches were sold out. After seeing them off, I returned to my little room to rest. Mia and Ethan woke up after 6 and conscientiously ate the bread and milk I had left on the dining table, taking the biscuits I prepared for them as they left. At 7 in the morning, I was woken up by my alarm. After getting ready, Vince's car arrived right at the restaurant's doorstep. I haven't eaten yet, and there's still a TV show on. Cook us some noodles, and let's eat together before we go. He said this and was about to scan the QR code to pay. I quickly stopped him. No, don't bother paying. I initially wanted to suggest he eat somewhere else, as all I had were pre-prepared meals, but worried about delaying, I ended up cooking him a pack of frozen dumplings. After serving, Vince commented wryly, no wonder your business isn't booming. I rolled my eyes discreetly. Oh, the irony of not realizing the blessings one already has. Here I was, complaining about frozen dumplings. Little did I know that in a post-apocalyptic world, even a plain bun could bring tears of joy to people. At 11 in the morning, after sleeping for 2 hours on the plane, I arrived in Kyoto. After dropping my things at the hotel, Vince immediately whisked me off to the conference room. The award ceremony was quite a grand affair, including myself. There were more than 80 people being honored. Most of them were researchers, technicians, or scholars and bigwigs from various fields, but there was me. I hadn't even obtained my bachelor's degree. I couldn't help but feel somewhat embarrassed. There were a lot of journalists at the event. Every time someone went on stage, they snapped photos frantically. After all, these were the nation's pillars, the real movers and shakers. Capturing a photo was a prize in itself. Then they saw me, a fresh-faced young woman. I looked timid, clearly a first-timer at such an event. The journalists quickly sensed a story. The cameras immediately pointed at me. The vice president of the National Academy of Sciences hosted the event. When it was my turn, he cleared his throat and said, this time, the successful development of the XT-2033 satellite was largely due to one person. She discovered and provided a crucial energy source that helped us overcome major material challenges. Therefore, the Chinese Academy of Sciences has decided to award her the highest honor in technology, the Stellar Medal. She is Stella. Thunderous applause erupted in the hall. All eyes were on me. Vince nudged me. Nervously swallowing, I blushed and stood up. The walk from my seat to the stage felt incredibly long as I walked with my chest out and head held high. With each step I took, the flashes from the cameras grew brighter. The journalists murmured incredulously, she's that impressive. I thought she was just some bigwig's daughter attending in his place. To think that the new energy source crucial for our satellite was found by her, she must be really talented. Which school is she from? I envy the school able to nurture such talent. The principal must be beaming with pride. Many university presidents, including the president of Kyoto Normal University, were also invited to today's meeting. He watched the familiar girl on the award stage, his mouth agape as if he could fit 2 eggs in it. After a long moment, he said in disbelief, is that Stella? As a president, he didn't need to remember every student. It was just that he had been approached by the daughter of a friend, pleading with him to personally expel her. The other university presidents, seeing his reaction, asked curiously, do you know her? Could she be from your school? This girl is incredible. She discovered a special energy source that many physicists and chemists have sought their entire lives, and she's the only one who has access to this resource. She could live comfortably and have a promising future just based on this resource alone. The president forced an awkward smile and said, yes, that's right. He made a mental note. Once the award ceremony was over, he definitely needed to invite me back to the school. With such a talent, his school could surely reach New heights. After I finished my acceptance speech, I stepped down from the stage. Immediately, a bunch of journalists with their cameras bombarded me. As I was answering their questions, someone suddenly tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around with a smile, only to meet the president's forced, grimacing face. My smile instantly collapsed. "Stella, why didn't you mention your capabilities earlier? We had some misunderstandings before. When can you bring your documents to school so I can reinstate your enrollment?" I replied expressionlessly. "No need." The memory of his arrogant demeanor when he expelled me was still vivid in my mind. Even if he were to beg me on his knees now, I would never go back. The principal didn't expect that in the presence of so many reporters and celebrities, I would give him no face at all. He lowered his voice and whispered in my ear, "Honestly, it was my friend who approached me and I believed his side of the story. Don't blame me for this. Besides, you're just a year away from graduating. Wouldn't you regret losing your degree?" Of course, I would regret it, but my integrity mattered more. I coldly asked, "Oh really? Which friend is this?" "It was Scarlett's father. He told me that you were of bad character, bullying his daughter at school, which led me to expel you. She said I bullied her. Did she have any proof? Did you even investigate before expelling me so hastily?" He stumbled over his words. I pulled out my phone, sending one copy to the reporters and another to the National Oversight Authorities. "Please ensure a thorough investigation to clear my name." The atmosphere turned serious instantly. "Rest assured, we will not let a talented individual who brings honor to our country suffer any injustice." Seeing this, the principal's face looked worse than if he had swallowed a fly. How can you record this? That's illegal." He protested but was quickly pushed aside by others. Many extended their offers to me. "Hello, Stella, I am the principal of Kyoto University of Technology, and I invite you to join our school. I represent Kyoto National Defense University, and we are in need of talented individuals like you. I'm from Kyoto University of Electronic Science and Technology, looking forward to your exchange at our school." After the meeting, I was invited by the vice president of the research institute to visit their lab. He pointed to the grand architectural inventions. "These are what we are currently developing, materials for construction that can strengthen foundations to withstand at least a magnitude 4 earthquake, and this material, if successfully integrated with the minerals from the crystals, could reinforce our weapons." He became more excited as he spoke, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "With enough crystals, integrating their energy into various materials, our military strength, architectural standards, and scientific achievements will surely far exceed other nations and truly make us a world leader." His words stirred my heart. "All this is thanks to you, Stella. You have made an extraordinary contribution to our nation's scientific endeavors, helping our various fields to advance significantly." I modestly scratched my head. "It's not that impressive." After the visit, I handed over the crystal cores I had obtained over the days. To me, these crystal cores were commonplace, but they elicited waves of amazed exclamations from them, especially when they saw the two glittering golden cores. "What is this? The energy contained within is so intense. I can feel it just by looking, far more intense than any we've seen before. Stella, you truly are the pride of our nation, a great hero. I must award you the highest scientific honor and apply for additional grants for you." The grant was quickly approved. Looking at the sudden addition of 5 million in my account, my emotions were mixed. I had never imagined that one day I would become a pillar of the nation. Not only do they receive national awards, but they also bring glory to the country, becoming a highly sought-after asset in their hands. With a weighty bank card in my pocket and excitement in my heart, I turned down Vince's dinner invitation 3 times this afternoon and boarded the plane home. Just kidding, in my little restaurant, there are indeed real big sponsors eagerly waiting. Meanwhile, in Qingshui town, after seeing the news, the town mayor, with banners and flags in hand, made a beeline for my uncle's house with gongs and drums. Hearing the commotion, my uncle's family hurriedly came out to greet them. The mayor's face was so crinkled with smiles it almost looked like a chrysanthemum. Congratulations, you've really raised a remarkable talent, truly an honor for Qingshui town." My uncle's family looked at each other in bewildered delight but still graciously accepted the praise. After a good while of mutual flattery and pleasantries, the mayor finally hinted, "Where is our celebrity? Stella, she's at home, isn't she? We've specifically brought banners to congratulate her, and yet she hasn't come out to greet us." As soon as these words were spoken, the smiles on my uncle and aunt's faces instantly fell. Who did you say? Our big star? Surely you're here to compliment us because my eldest son got a government job, aren't you?" The mayor was at a loss for words. "What? It's Stella. She's now the darling of the nation," my uncle and the others turned pale as ghosts. The darling of the nation, Stella, the jinx who was known for bringing misfortune to her parents. They had thought that after driving Stella away, she would end up homeless and wandering, dying miserably like a stray dog, unclaimed, and here their son had just landed a government job, promising a bright future and a life of ease for them. At that moment, someone whispered the recent drama into the mayor's ear. His expression immediately changed. How foolish of you, such a talented daughter, and you treated her like this. It looks like it's the end of the road for your family. If the leaders heard about this, their son's career in the government office would surely suffer. His future was ruined, and after my story spread, the little Western-style house that had hung on the market unsold for so long suddenly became hot property. After several bids, it was finally purchased by a wealthy landlord from the village for $1 million. On another note, after an investigation by national investigators, they discovered that the principal had engaged in favoritism and abused his authority. The principal was dismissed. Scarlett, who was the real bully, was also expelled, and her father was thoroughly investigated inside and out. Eventually, bribery was uncovered, leading to his company being sealed. Of course, all these things I heard from Vince later. At this moment, after returning to my small restaurant, I took a short nap. Then, as usual, I began preparing for the evening meal. As soon as it struck 7, night fell. I opened the door of the small restaurant with a smile, only to see Luna and Mia rush in with pale faces. Fairy sister, we can't open tonight, hide with us first. I looked surprised and asked, what's happening? Just as I spoke, the sound of tat-tat-tat came from outside. I glanced curiously in that direction and saw an army paving the way, followed by over a dozen armored vehicles, and even tanks and artillery behind them. They slowly advanced towards me, finally stopping outside the restaurant. A burly man with a stern look sat in one of the armored vehicles and said threateningly, "You're the owner of this restaurant, right? I advise you to be smart and hand over all your supplies quickly to avoid us having to resort to force. Struggling is futile. Do you really think you can turn into a fairy and fly away under our firepower?" He glared at me provocatively. What nonsense about becoming a fairy. He didn't believe anyone shot could avoid death. The people waiting outside to eat spoke up angrily. In these apocalyptic times, humanity should unite. The supplies belong to the owner. It's her kindness that she shares them. How can you forcibly take everything for yourself? By doing this, you're inciting a riot. Have you not considered that if you can take her supplies, other stronger bases might take yours? If everyone starts looting from each other, what chance does humanity have? Stop this now. We won't let you succeed. The burly man spat on the ground. Bah. What are you to stop me? I knew you people prefer peaceful coexistence. That's why I can act so brazenly. He had the delicious braised pork and swallowed hard. I coldly met his gaze. No, if you have the guts, come and take it. The man scoffed. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Since that's how it is, don't blame me for not being courteous. With that, he commanded his troops to attack. Naturally, the people waiting in line to eat rose up to resist. The air was filled with various supernatural powers, creating a spectacular scene. However, how could human bodies withstand against heavy weaponry? Several were wounded. I told them, stop helping me and leave quickly. He can't do much to me. The restaurant had a protection mechanism. Even if the outside world was embroiled in chaos, it would remain unscathed. Luna, having witnessed my capabilities, also spoke up. Yes. Everyone should ensure their own safety. The owner is very capable. We need to trust her. Yet, the people gritted their teeth and shook their heads. No, we promised as long as this small restaurant exists, we would protect it. Even if the owner is capable, we can't just do nothing. How can we let her fight alone? The more of us there are, the greater our strength. With so many of us, his ammunition will eventually run out. He can't defeat us. Even Mia and Ethan, 2 kids, kept using their powers to counter the attacks. Seeing this, tears streamed down my face. It was the first time so many people had protected me, so this is what it felt like to be guarded. Just then, another round of tat-tat-tat sounded nearby. Sherry, full of fighting spirit, shouted, "Don't be afraid, owner, we're here to help you. Think you're the only one with weapons. Come, let's see who's stronger." The burly man's face filled with shock. He had originally thought that the small restaurant, relying merely on its cuisine, I had only won over the hearts of some people, yet I never expected them to fight so fiercely for me. The strength of Sunrise Base certainly wasn't as formidable as Hingshan Base. They were thoroughly defeated, crumbling quickly in battle. Sherry, expressionless, wielded her supernatural powers, striking the man with a bolt of lightning. He was instantly charred inside and out, dead beyond any doubt. Finally, the war came to an end. Everyone looked visibly shaken. Sherry and the others stepped into the small diner and asked with concern, "Owner, are you all right?" I shook my head. "I'm Fine, thank you, it's what we should do. We're not just protecting the diner, but also maintaining peace in the apocalypse. After all, such incidents can easily stir people's hearts. Though they said that, I still felt deeply grateful, and my way of expressing thanks was to go on a shopping spree, preparing delicious food for them. Another night fell. I listened to the ding-dong sound of the wind chimes in this frozen apocalypse. The pre-made meals that everyone once scorned had become highly sought after. I served an endless stream of guests, listening to their praises of delicious and their satisfied sighs. I felt utterly content. As long as my diner exists, I will continue to pass on this happiness forever and ever. Owner, what are you daydreaming about? I want 2 bento boxes and 5 pancakes. Snapping back to reality, I smiled and responded, sure.